already on social media. This man is from a YouTube video. Every time there's a school shooting or a mass shooting, this photo circulates and folks say that he is the gunman. He is not the gunman. This is a YouTube star. He's part of a kind of guns outdoor YouTube channel. So if you see this in your feed, please do not share it. We don't want to spread false information. As Devin says, this is not the shooter. Many people are tweeting this picture saying it is. It's not. This photo is posted every time a mass shooting occurs. If you see a tweet with this picture, report it. And then finally, I just wanted to share something that really hit home for me. She says, the only school shooting I remember growing up was Columbine. Now it's every other week we have a school shooting. And you think about that, Lisa, you brought up that Parkland was just a couple of months ago on February 14th, and there have been a few since, and there were many between that and Sandy Hook. So this is becoming kind of a scary reality for folks like this Twitter user.
Absolutely. Brandy, thank you so much for that. That one student tweeting not just prayers, but also policy and action to bring an end to this gun violence on campuses across the country.
It is straight up 10:30 here on your Friday morning. We've been on the air here a couple of hours with this school shooting in Santa Fe High School, down in Santa Fe ISD, Galveston County, and this first call went out right after 7:30 this morning. The kids had just arrived at school, and we've been able to confirm now through several law enforcement sources that at least 8 people were killed in this shooting this morning, and now the bomb squad is on campus looking for possible explosive devices left behind by the shooter.
We've been leaning on our Jeremy Rogowski and his federal and local law enforcement agencies, his sources. Jeremy, you have some new information for us?
We wanted to give you a feel of the urgency that was going on this morning just a few hours ago, about 3 hours ago, in real time. So our team at KHE 11 Investigates has been scouring over police and EMS dispatch traffic this morning, and we've truncated several radio transmissions that began at 7:32, and here is some of the back and forth chatter as the calls went out when there was an active shooter. Let's listen in.
Thanks, Amy. To be for Santa Fe High School, need you to stage school shooting, have an active shooter, several people down.
We also need the flight for an officer down.
10-4, we got him.
60704, we're coming out the front doors. West Center ETA. Fly to the northwest corner of the complex. We need to get coverage on the outside. We believe he's barricaded inside.
Clear. Swap being deployed.
Active shooter, status contained. We need SWAT. He's actually shooting. He's in the art room. We got shots fired right now, guys. We need all of you.
Obviously very poignant, very urgent, very chaotic. We did hear a couple of things that we've been reporting all morning long from that string of dispatch tapes. One, that in fact there was an officer down. Another, that the shooter was barricaded inside. And thirdly, that the shooting, at least some of the shooting, happened in the art room at Santa Fe High School. And when you listen to that, guys, it's chilling. Because picture yourself on the scene. This is a Friday morning, less than 2 weeks before school is out, and it should have been just any normal Friday morning, and clearly it wasn't and isn't, and so that really gives you a picture of what was going on scene this morning. And thanks to our producers at KHE 11 Investigates for that quick turnaround. Very chilling stuff.
And from that, it sounds like officers had arrived. The shooting was still happening. They heard gunshots inside as they were arriving on the outside of the building.
Well, and certainly at the very least, the shooter was inside at the time. We heard that transmission saying he's barricaded in, I believe, the northwest corner of the complex.
But that was the officer. Yeah, and that one officer did say he's shooting now. Right. After he had gotten there, too.
And clearly, all alarms were going off. Send SWAT. We need SWAT. We need help right now. And so, you know, the initial response was obviously they were overwhelmed. They knew they had a mass shooting and something very, very serious on their hands, those initial first responders.
We're grateful for their swift response. They were there so quickly, and I know they saved lives with that quick action. We are heartbroken to say that there are at least 8 people who were killed this morning on the campus of Santa Fe High School. We do understand we're going to have a briefing with law enforcement coming up here in the next few minutes. We're waiting on that. We're also expecting another update from the campus of UTMB, where at least 3 victims, shooting victims, have been transported.
Jason Miles is standing by right now. And Jason, are you talking with another parent or student there at the Alamo Gym?
And Emma.
Yeah, talking to both students and parents. Here is a parent, Sonia Lopez. Sonia, I understand your daughter Sarah Salazar may have been in the class where this shooting is reported to have occurred. That's according to one of your other daughters. The key is you haven't heard from Sarah.
That's right. We're just waiting to see, you know, what they're going to tell us. We haven't heard or seen her. We haven't talked to her. She's not answering her cell phone. So we're just keeping her in our prayers, hoping she's okay.
And she's one of how many children?
5. I have 5 girls. She's the second child. She's always been a principal honor roll, a very smart child. She wants to be a doctor and an Aggie. And so we're hoping that she's okay.
I know in the confusion and the chaos and kids running out of the school, phones may have dropped, may have been left behind. You're hoping that's the case?
Yes, I have faith that she's okay.
When you hear that some kids didn't make it, what's your reaction to that?
It's sad. It's sad for the families involved. Even the kids that are going to these schools here, they feel, you know, unsafe coming to school. Even my other daughter, Star, was really scared, and she asked me to come pick her up, just not knowing what's going on, you know, is the issue right here, not knowing what's going on. So we're just waiting to see what they're going to tell us.
Well, hopefully Sarah will arrive shortly on one of the buses that has yet to make it over here to this rendezvous area. Thank you, Ms. Lopez, for talking to us. I interviewed one of her other daughters who was also at the school this morning and actually had some Snapchat video of kids getting into ditches for safety. I heard what it sounded like a gunshot on that Snapchat video as well. We're trying to get that so we can relay it on air. She also had what appeared to be one of the suspected shooters taken into custody just outside the school. It's from a distance, but that's what appeared to have been going on, and that's what she believes she saw. So hopefully we'll get more information on that as well. In the meantime, again, many families still waiting on some resolution, waiting to hear from kids who may be in peril or who may just be unable to call or text back, guys.
And we know it's an awful situation for so many parents, those who don't know if their kids are okay. So, Jason Miles, thank you, and thank you to the woman who was gracious enough to take a few minutes with us. I can't imagine how she's feeling right now.
She's doing a lot better than I'd be doing right now if I couldn't get a hold of one of my kids. Right. Waiting there for them to show up, you know, and hopefully it is just a cell phone dropped or she just can't, you know, can't call it right now. But boy, she was holding it together a lot better than I would have.
Yeah. Let's check in right now with our Janelle Fort on the ground there near campus. Janelle, I understand you just spoke with DPS.
Yes, I did, and they told me that they're setting up a media staging area, which is about 2 miles away from here at R.J. Woolham Elementary School. They're going to set it up in the gym, and that's where they're going to be providing more updates. That officer, when he was over here, he couldn't answer many questions about what's still going on over here at campus, but I can tell you that a line of cars just worked their way over this way. Some of them seem to be marked, some of them unmarked. Not sure who's in those vehicles, but probably about 8 or 9 cars just made their way going towards this area. I know that right now this road is blocked off and they're only letting certain vehicles through, so I'm not sure what role the people that just made their way over there are playing, but I can tell you that there's still a lot going on down this way. Now, at last check, I told you they were doing that secondary sweep, going through those classrooms, trying to see if there are any suspicious packages, if there are any explosives in that building. I'm not sure if they found anything, but it does go with those reports that we heard earlier that there may or may not be any explosives during that shooting. Now, as you can see, there's some cars kind of making their way out now. Not sure who those guys are either, but as I said, still very active here. Hopefully we'll be able to get some more updates in the next few minutes, especially with that press conference going on. Like I said again, it's going to be over at R.J. Woolham Elementary School, and it's going to start in a few minutes. They said that it's going to start pretty shortly, and that's also where they're talking about setting up a command post. So we'll have more updates coming up for you guys later on, but I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Janelle, thank you so much, and we'll keep an eye on that briefing that's set to start in the next few minutes here over at R.J. Woolham Elementary. We appreciate the information.
Melissa Correa is not far away from where Janelle is on the other side of the school there, and she has some information for us now. Melissa?
Russ, unfortunately, we've got a second investigative scene going. We were making our way down Highway 6, and Galveston County authorities are now working the second scene. Bear with us. We're working on our Zoom here. They are saying, officers and deputies are saying they're now investigating the possibility of explosive devices inside what appears to be a trailer home here along the 19,000 block of Highway 6. They are now detouring traffic. You already can't get through Santa Fe High School. This is a neighborhood community. We've got a trailer home park to the right of us here on Highway 6, and further down the area, this second scene. We have, in the last 15 minutes or so, seen quite a few state troopers and law enforcement agents make their way down there. We don't know the relationship of that trailer home here on the 19,000 block of Highway 6 to the situation at Santa Fe High School. But guys, authorities keep moving from one scene to the other. So if you happen to live in this area and you're watching and you want to get out, the best advice I can tell you is that Highway 6 from Algoa Friendswood Road to the county line is shut down for now. As far as whether or not they told neighbors nearby about what's going on in that trailer home, that remains to be seen. I mentioned that trailer park, and it seems like there are a few people out on their properties, but see, more law enforcement authorities are the only ones that are actually able to make their way on the street. Again, we drove up on this. We were trying to move towards another scene as we're continuing our coverage this morning. And again, we now know that authorities are investigating the possibility of explosive devices inside a mobile home along the 19,000 block of Highway 6. Authorities can't give me any more information. We're going to stay out here to see what else we can see from our camera lens. But Russ and Lisa, this is what we're dealing with. Maybe about a half mile to a mile from Santa Fe High School, we've got this going on as well.
Wow.
Well, thank you, Melissa. That is just strange. I mean, it's not only a second location, but it's a home
right
near campus. Right. So keep us posted out there. Again, that's along Highway 6 as well. That area is already shut down, so it's probably not affecting anybody else. Right. But they may have explosive devices in that trailer home along the highway.
We'll keep an eye on that, see if there's any relation to what's going on there and what happened earlier on campus. Right now, let's check in with our Brandy Smith, who's monitoring social media. Some big names in Houston. Brandy commenting on what happened today.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the time of day. We're just approaching 11 o'clock. Over the course of the past few hours, as we've seen this story develop, folks are waking up to this news, trying to come to grips with what's happened just down the road and reacting. And included on that list is J.J. Watt, who just tweeted, absolutely horrific. No argument there. We're also hearing from Mayor Sylvester Turner, who says, my heart and concerns are with Santa Fe students, parents, faculty, and law enforcement as we watch this sad campus shooting unfold. Now, I thought this was interesting from Andrea. She says, as a mother, I cannot even fathom how this must feel. To anyone who has lost someone in Santa Fe High School, my heart goes out to you. How many times are we going to let this happen before we realize something must change, guys?
Brandy, thank you.
I want to get to a live press conference right now. This is Sheriff Ed Gonzalez. Let's listen in.
A little bit before 8 a.m., there were reports of an active shooter situation here at Santa Fe High School in Galveston County. There was indeed a shooting. Our understanding, and keep in mind this is all still preliminary and very fluid, but there was one person, a suspect in custody, a second possible person of interest that was detained and being questioned. There are multiple fatalities that have been confirmed. The number varies, but it could be anywhere between 8 to 10 fatalities at the school, including students and some adult staff as well. There was also an injured Santa Fe ISD police officer that was injured that's being treated at a hospital. I don't know the extent of his injuries. Area law enforcement, including the Harris County Sheriff's Office, is conducting a systematic search of the school just to make sure there's no additional students that are either injured or hiding. And so that could be at the school. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the entire Santa Fe community, to the Santa Fe ISD, to all those that have been injured and suffered loss of life out here. But at this point, we do have an active crime scene that we're investigating. They could expect a large police presence out here. We're being told there's a family unification center at the 13,300 block of Highway 6 where parents could reunite with their students. And additional information will be forthcoming. Right now it's very limited. We're just one of the agencies that responded out here to offer support, and so that's what we have out here. There's multiple fatalities. It could be anywhere between 8 to 10, the majority being students. One male is in custody, and then a second one, again, was a person of interest. Both are believed to be students here at the school, and that's what we have at this moment. And this happened a little bit before 8 o'clock this morning.
Sheriff, about the type of weapons?
We don't know that yet. We're searching the entire school, and it's an active crime scene, so all the details about specific injuries and firearms evidence will come later.
What time did he get access?
I don't know the exact time, but it's my understanding it happened right before school started, so I would guess it happened anywhere between 7:30 and 8. It's my understanding. I don't have the exact time.
How old was the shooter? How old is he?
Just that he was a student here at the high school, so I would imagine in his teens. Sí, estamos aquí en la escuela de Santa Fe High School. Tenemos confirmado que hay varias personas muertos aquí en el local. Es probable que sea entre 8 a 10, incluyendo estudiantes y adultos. Hay una persona que está en custodia, nos dicen que fue un estudiante, y otra segunda persona que es persona de interés que también le están haciendo preguntas. Pasó antes de que comenzó las clases, me imagino entre 7:30 a 8 de la mañana.
¿Esos muchachos usaron explosivos, usaron armas?
No sabemos qué tipo de armas o qué utilizaron, solamente estamos aquí para asistir, eso va a venir después.
¿Qué le dice a la comunidad en cuanto a dónde buscar a sus hijos?
We learned about a fire alarm going off. Can you expand a little bit on that?
I'm not sure about the fire alarm. I was there on the scene. I didn't hear any fire alarm going on. I'm not sure if maybe it was pressed during the chaos that ensued, I'm sure, during the initial stages. But I haven't heard anything about a fire alarm.
Is there anyone still in the school? Inside or outside?
We don't know yet. We're doing a systematic search. At one point, there were students that were coming out from different hiding places, and so our search was continuing to make sure there weren't other students that were still afraid and maybe hiding, or staff that was there. So we don't know if anybody else was there. We don't know if there's additional fatalities or people are injured. It is secured now. We have a multi-agency response out there that has secured the school, so there's no type of active situation at this point.
You mentioned there's a second person. Is there a second person? I'm sorry, you're talking to the microphone. There's a second person. You said is that a person of interest in a student, or could you elaborate on
I'm
that?
told that they're both students. One was actually in custody, believed to be one of the suspects involved. It's unknown if there were multiple suspects, but a second individual was detained and questioned. For what reason, I'm not sure.
¿Podrían ser más gatilleros? ¿Podrían ser más?
Tenemos información que solamente podría ser uno confirmado, puede ser dos, pero la otra persona no sé cuáles datos, por qué les dio sospecha a la segunda persona. No sabemos si puede haber más en este momento.
Can you tell us more about additional injuries?
We don't know. Just we're still searching, so there could be additional that are injured. I was focused on the fatalities, those deceased, and we have approximately 10. That's still not fully confirmed. I know that it could be in that range, but I'm told the majority of those are probably students.
¿Qué le dice a la gente de esta comunidad que está muy preocupada con lo que ha pasado? Is that something that you're hearing, Sheriff?
I'm not sure about. I haven't heard pipe bombs.
We heard other explosives. Have you heard anything about other explosives that are possibly here?
We always consider that a possibility with these type of situations, so I know we're searching with that. Our Harris County Sheriff's Office bomb unit, along with others, are searching for that as well. So we'll conduct an active search. I just came to give some preliminary information just because I know we hadn't come out yet. So as soon as we find out more, either myself or somebody else will come out here shortly.
Sheriff, any idea where it actually happened, inside or outside?
We've been listening to Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez provide that information, confirming between 8 and 10 people killed today, between students and adults.
Yeah, confirming a lot of other information we've been reporting as well this morning, in addition to that very, very sad news, including that they believe they have the shooter in custody, and they've detained for questioning one other person, both students. According to the sheriff, he was not sure about why that second person was being detained and questioned, but that was something that Jeremy Rogowski told us a while back and has now been confirmed. And we heard from Melissa Correa not too long ago. There's a second location here where officers near the school are searching a trailer home for possible explosives.
Right. Whether or not the two scenes are connected, we don't know, but we're following that closely. Jeremy Rogowski, bring you in now. Do you have new information here?
Well, I just want to point out something from that news briefing from Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, and forgive me if I misheard, but I believe he said at least one adult may be included in the death toll. And Russ, did you recall that?
Yeah, he said he said adults and kids.
Right, and so we had said 8 people earlier. Now he's saying 8 to 10, and obviously perhaps not all students. So that's alarming too. We could be talking about a teacher. We could be talking about an employee, a staff member. So that is additional as well.
Now the sheriff said the school is secure. I don't know if that means they're just not worried about any other, people in there with guns, or if they've cleared it of possible explosives. As we reported earlier, the bomb squad was in there looking for.
Yeah, it was unclear. The tone from the sheriff seemed to be one of relative calmness in terms of there wasn't a live pressing issue, but we don't know if they're just crossing T's and dotting I's, the bomb squad that is inside. I do want to mention that we have several unconfirmed reports of the suspect's identity. We obviously are not going to release that name until we're absolutely, positively, 100% sure. But our team at KG11 Investigates is backgrounding this individual, going through, scrubbing his social media posts, looking for any past criminal incidents, any other activity on social media or online, any chatter. I can tell you he was, the person we believe is the shooter is a 17-year-old male. And that's about all we're going to say now, but just to know we are, in full force learning as much as we can, so as soon as police confirm that identity, we can share that with you, because that's what everybody wants to know right now. Yeah. Who is this student? What is his background? And of course, the biggest question of all, why? And as we learned in many of these, sometimes that question never is answered, and that is one of the hardest things to deal with.
Really is. We know there are still parents out there. Jason Miles talked to one of them, and she's not even sure where her child is at this point. Still unaccounted for.
Can't imagine.
Cannot imagine that.
Sitting there at the Alamo Gym, which is near the school, and that's where all the parents are reuniting and have been with their kids. We're talking about a school between 1,400 and 1,500 students. Last couple of weeks of school, they're due to be out for the summer on the 31st. And then this happens early this morning. It sounds like right after school started. The kids were still in first period when they heard a fire alarm, and then they heard shots.
We have a number of our reporters on the ground there around campus. One of those is Janelle Fort. She's been with us since about 8:30 this morning reporting. Janelle, what do you have out there right now?
Not gotten that information confirmed.
Well, good morning. We just got done hearing from Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez. He tells us that fatality rate has now gone up to 10 people, and he says that they are currently looking for a potential second suspect in this shooting. Now, currently, right now, he tells us that what's going on down here at the school, they're doing that search. I've been talking about that search the entire morning. He tells me not only are they looking for explosive devices, but on top of that, they're also looking to see if there are any students that are still in hiding places, any other fatalities, any other students who are injured here. So still a lot going on here at the scene. Like I said, you can look down there, you can see there's a number of flashing lights going on. He tells us that this is a multi-agency type of investigation that they're currently conducting down this way. He says that he can't tell us if there are more people that are injured or if there are more fatalities at this time. He says it's still just one of those things where they're searching and they're still looking for more evidence and more information. He does tell us that the second shooter, they also believe is a student here. So that first shooter that they have in custody, they say that he's a student here, but they said that the second suspect, is also likely a student. I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Janelle, and we do want to clarify that Sheriff Ed Gonzalez with Harris County did say it was between 8 and 10, the number of fatalities confirmed there on campus between both students and adults. 8 to 10 is the number they're working with right now.
Yeah, a minimum of 8, but maybe as high as 10. So we just want to make that clear. We don't know the details on the breakdown, how many students and how many faculty, but he did mention both as being among the dead at Santa Fe High School. If you're just joining us this morning, you may be wondering, what's going on and when this all started. And we've been on the air here now for almost 3 hours when first reports came in of an active shooter at Santa Fe High School down in Santa Fe ISD. This is Galveston County, and the calls coming in just after 7:30 this morning. The first calls of somebody on campus was shooting at kids.
Right. Initially, we didn't know anything of reports. We knew Lifeline had been called out to respond, but we didn't see any activity on campus that would indicate there were traumatic injuries. Shortly thereafter, our Jeremy Rogowski, with his tremendous sources, came in and said, tragically, there were a number of fatalities, and now as we're hearing from the sheriff, that is confirmed between 8 and 10 people killed in this morning's shooting at Santa Fe High School. We want to check in right now with Jason Miles, who has been at an area where students are being, I guess, dropped off where their parents can collect them. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, I may have kind of a sad update, guys. We just saw a group of parents walking from that rendezvous point, the Alamo Gym, over to the junior high school. A group of parents who had yet to see their children return here. And just a few minutes ago, I interviewed that mom, Ms. Lopez, who was still waiting to hear from her daughter, Sarah, believed to be in the classroom where this shooting was reported. And hopefully she'll have a better...
To be a student, has been treated for a gunshot wound to the leg and has been admitted to one of our hospitals. And then a female, about middle-aged also, shot in the leg as well. And she is also still in the ER. And that's the extent of the information that we have thus far, but I just want to make sure everybody knew we had 3. We're prepared to have more patients, but as of right now, it's about 5 minutes ago, we don't have any word that we are receiving more patients.
Can you tell us if one of the adults is a Santa Fe ISD officer? We know that an officer has been injured.
It may be, and I don't want to provide misinformation. I don't know if the Santa Fe School District is providing that information. I really don't know his identity, except that he's a middle-aged male.
Do you have his condition or anyone?
He's critical. He's critical. He's in the OR right now. He's being worked on. He's got chest injuries.
And how is the woman doing?
She's in good condition. Good condition, and the younger patient is also in good condition.
Was the middle-aged male in surgery? How many times was he shot?
That I don't know. At first I heard twice, but again, I don't know the exact number of gunshots. But
all of the patients have been shot, right? They're being treated for gunshots.
That is correct. That's what I understood from Dr. Golsham, who just told us a while ago.
Paul, can you repeat just as far as the main bullet points go, injuries-wise? So it's the 3 patients?
Yeah, we have 3 patients here. One of them initially went to our League City ER, then was brought here. We received 1 patient by Lifeline, the other 2 by ambulance. 1 patient is in critical condition in the OR, middle-aged male. 1 patient under the age of 18 has been admitted to the hospital, also a gunshot wound to the leg. And then we have a female patient also shot in the leg in good condition also.
And do we know if the person under 18 is a male, female?
I believe it's a male, but I'm not quite sure.
And the person that came in by Lifeline, was that the critical male, the male in critical condition?
I don't want to presume that that was the case. I just don't know. Sorry.
And I'm so sorry. We don't know if that was the officer, is what you're saying, right?
That's correct. I don't know.
We're hearing things on social media about possible needing blood donations. Do you know anything about that? Is there any?
I've not heard that, but we'll check on that. As I've said before, we're prepared for this sort of situation, which includes extra blood for these sorts of multiple situations, multiple patient situations. But right now, as we mentioned earlier, we have our social workers standing by in case family, loved ones show up and if they know their patients, their loved ones are here at the hospital, we're prepared to help them through this terrible, terrible time.
How long has that critical patient been in surgery for now?
Well, we had our briefing about 40 minutes ago, so I would say about, I don't know when they actually went in, so I don't want to speculate.
For people just joining us, can you just bring us back into that emergency room right now? Obviously, is it chaotic, calming, dramatic? What's happening?
You know, I'm so proud of these folks. We just had a mass casualty drill several weeks ago. They're very well prepared. They're very well organized. They make sure that everybody knows their job. Does it get chaotic at times? Of course. Everybody's trying to do the best they can and move around quickly. But is it something that they know what they're doing? Absolutely. They're all doing they all stay in the right place, they all do the right things, and they're all providing the best care they can.
You know, we saw the chief nurse get really choked up just a few minutes ago.
Look, it's an emotional time. We have family, we have friends, we have staff members who live in the Santa Fe area, so of course, we're all part of this community, yes.
Tell them about life flight. Did that come directly from the scene, or was that from...
That's what I understand. That's what I understand, that it came from the scene and landed here.
But at this time, we have 3 patients in this hospital, 1 in critical condition who is currently in surgery.
Correct.
A female who was shot in the leg.
Correct.
Who is in good condition, and a male under 18 who also was shot in the leg in good condition. We don't know if he's a student. Is that still something
I just don't know.
Yeah. You know, can you just, what's the message to people watching at home right now from you guys here at the hospital?
You know, if you need more information, call the school district. You know, we're treating our patients, the ones we know we have here. I'm sure they're doing the best they can to provide the latest information of everyone that's at that school district, and I don't presume to speak to them, but that's what I would do. And our hearts and prayers literally do go out, and I really do mean that.
More patients on the way?
As far as I know, no more patients on the way, but that could change. We'll keep you updated if we learn anything else.
Will there be another briefing with the...
We still plan on the 11:45 briefing, yes.
For the male in surgery is in his 30s?
Middle age.
Middle age.
Middle age.
And chest injury, is that correct?
Yes, chest area, so I would describe it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Raul.
And that was the spokesperson from UTMB giving us an update this morning. The encouraging news is 2 of the patients they have there, sounds like a male student under the age of 18 and a middle-aged woman, both shot in the leg, both in good condition. But the concerning part there is we have a middle-aged man who is in surgery right now with chest injuries, and the question was posed to him, is that the Santa Fe ISD police officer who was injured in the shooting? He could not confirm that, but we do know that somebody is in the operating room right now with sounds like some critical injuries.
If you are just joining us, we are in continuous coverage following fatal shooting on the campus of Santa Fe High School. The story broke just before 8 o'clock this morning. Between 8 and 10 people, a mix of both students and adults, have been confirmed dead as a result of this. The gunman is in custody, the alleged gunman in custody. A second person is being detained for questioning. We don't have identities, of course, on either person that are being released, or identities on the victims just yet, but we do know there are parents out there who still don't know whether or not their child survived this. We did hear from one who spoke to our Jason Miles about a half hour ago, and our heart breaks for her and every parent out there who just has no idea whether or not their kids are okay.
This is happening at the Alamo Gym. That's where the kids are being evacuated to and then getting reunited with their parents. But we saw this during Parkland, that shooting, just how heartbreaking it is to see those parents standing there waiting for that next bus to come and just praying that your child walks off that bus.
Right.
But not knowing. And then the next bus comes, and the next one comes, and you're just waiting and waiting for the ultimate good news that you see your child.
The Alamo, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I just can't imagine standing there, as we saw during Parkland, as we're seeing today, and just waiting behind that barrier, watching the buses come in and just praying.
Right. The Alamo Gym near campus is one of the spots where parents are picking up their kids. Jeremy Rogalski has been bringing us information from his law enforcement sources. Jeremy, we'll pass it over to you right now.
As well as our team of producers with KHOU 11 Investigates, we've been listening to scanner traffic, police dispatch traffic from the scene. Another piece of information that continues to unfold from this dispatch traffic at 8:03. There was police scanner traffic from one of the officers on the scenes, and I quote, "We have 2 visible IEDs, improvised explosive devices." He also said, that officer, "We may have a live pipe bomb." So again, this is not just reports of, this is an officer on the scene who is witnessing or ostensibly witnessing this and reporting it back to headquarters. So not only do we have a shooting, at least from that scanner traffic, guys, there was at some point in this whole ordeal an explosive device of some kind or more than one.
Mm-hmm. And what we don't know right now is the status of that part of the investigation. We saw what looked like the bomb squad going into the school. That was quite some time ago, but we know those things take time for obvious reasons.
Well, certainly the timeline to get everything pinned down will take probably days, but I think it adds another certainly dimension to this. Okay, it wasn't just shooting. Maybe it was shooting and then a bomb, or a bomb and then shots fired. But it is an added dimension to this that we wanted to bring this to you. Again, that is from police dispatch. Traffic at 8:03, an officer on scene saying they have 2 visible improvised explosive devices, and then he went on to say we may have a live pipe bomb.
And now we're hearing about the second location.
Right. Melissa Correa is at a scene. We'll touch base with her in a few minutes here, but she's at another scene. We don't know if they're connected, but there may be explosives at a trailer park, I believe.
Trailer home,
right
right along Highway 6, which is like a half mile or a mile from campus.
And that is the address of who we believe is the suspected shooter, who our sources are telling us that is the address. We are obviously not releasing that person's name until we have absolute confirmation on that. We can tell you he is a 17-year-old male. From what Sheriff Gonzalez said, he was a student at Santa Fe High School. And we're continuing to try to learn more about his background as we speak.
Are you hearing anything about this second person we know who was detained and questioned?
Nothing more than what the sheriff said, and that's a big question mark right now. And you know, as we continue to report on this, we're going to tell you what we know, and we're not going to tell you what we think we know, because that obviously gets you into trouble. So no, nothing other than that person was detained. We don't know whether he or she was an accomplice. Another shooter, that's still a big question mark over that. But a very good question, because as history tells us, Russ and Lisa, the vast majority of these, save for Columbine, were single shooter incidents.
So the mobile home that's surrounded right now and blocked off is the alleged gunman's home, you're saying. Is that what is confirmed?
I will say this. The address where that police activity is the same address that our sources tell us is the address of the suspected shooter.
Okay.
So that's about as far as we can go there, and obviously Melissa Correa is on scene. Obviously there's police activity there for a reason, and if there was IEDs in the school, it stands to reason that obviously they would want to check that out as well.
And she is on scene right now, Jeremy. Let's check in with Melissa Correa. Mel, have you learned anything new out there?
Well, to speak really quickly about what Jeremy was talking about when it comes to his sources and the potential of the property behind me linked to the shooter that's now in custody, I'll tell you this. Right now, it's a lot of reading between the lines when it comes with law enforcement. We've got that address. I ran it by law enforcement officers out here at the scene. They say that's what they're hearing as well. But this is the best we can do. We are blocked off, and I've gone on to Google Maps to give you a better description of where we're at. We're about 3 miles away from Santa Fe High School here along Highway 6. It's nothing but law enforcement in and out. And a few moments ago, 2 ambulances from Fort Bend County. We are in Galveston County. 2 ambulances came in from Fort Bend County. They're now positioned at that scene. What we've been hearing for about the last hour or so is that authorities are sweeping a mobile home, a trailer home, for the possibility of explosive devices. At this point in time, there are families coming out of their homes on the side of the street. Mars, there's a woman to the left of Highway 6. She's taking a look. It appears as though people are able to stay on their properties, but they are definitely not allowing traffic to move through. You can hear a dump truck moving behind me. Now, the interesting thing is, and Jeremy, I'm really going to ask for your help out here. I'm the only news crew out here live, and so I am nowhere near asking Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, which I text message with Harris County, for information. Jeremy, if you can find out why they're zooming back and forth, if they have any other information on this home. It's incredible, the speeds, 70, 80 miles an hour from that home down there over to Santa Fe High School. And we're talking about a 3-mile distance between the two. It's almost as if they're shuffling information immediately down the street from one another here on Highway 6. At least a few hundred people have made this detour at Highway 6 and Thompson Road. Authorities not giving too much information because Russ and Lisa, you talk about the heartbreak of the parents at Santa Fe High School today, and then compound that with the panic and the concern and the fear of the community here, knowing that a second scene is now under investigation for the possibility of explosive devices. It has been one incredibly trying morning, to say the least. This is what we've got here. To the crews that are out with authorities either at the hospital or with the sheriff, if you could do me a solid and ask about this second scene. I know I'd appreciate it, and more folks are starting to come out. They are seeing the flashing lights down here, pointing out what's going on. Again, a mobile home now being swept for the possibility of explosive devices. Russ and Lisa, I'm going to leave you with this image.
All right, Melissa Correa, thank you so much. Russ and Lisa have left the set now. I'm joined by Ron Trevino. I'm Rekha Muttaraj, and right now it is 11:09. If you are just joining us, we have some heartbreaking news this morning and still a very active scene out in Galveston County. Sheriff Ed Gonzalez just updated us, but just a little bit before 8 a.m. this morning, there was a suspected shooter at Santa Fe High School. Right now, we are hearing that there are between 8 and 10 people dead. We are trying to get an exact confirmation on the number. At least one person injured is the Santa Fe ISD officer who is being treated at a local hospital. We don't know the extent of his injuries. And officials right now doing a systematic search of the high school. We hear from sources looking for possible explosives. In the meantime, you just heard from Melissa Correa. She is at a second scene where there is a large police presence outside a trailer home there where they believe they may also find possible explosives. But a lot happening this morning out in Galveston County.
And as we heard from Jeremy Rogowski, we believe that the shooter, that's his address. All right, let's go to Alamo Gym, where a lot of students are hoping to be reunited with their parents. Jason Miles is our reporter out there. Jason, can you hear us?
I can, Ron. For people familiar with Santa Fe, we're standing outside the HEB, kind of between Alamo Gym and this school here behind me. A few moments ago, and I see some parents out here wiping their eyes, who appear to be parents at least. The Alamo Gym is where parents were reunited with their students who were bused over from Santa Fe High School. It appears as if parents who have not seen their kids show up were asked to walk over to this other school. The Red Cross has appeared as well, possibly a grief counselor. I haven't confirmed that. And a mother I interviewed in the last hour or so who was still waiting to hear from her daughter, believed to be in the class where the shooting occurred. I spoke to her sister as well. Neither of them had heard from that young lady, a 10th grader at Santa Fe High School. They were hoping she had lost her phone or the phone was dropped as she was evacuated. They were holding out hope, but just within the last few minutes, an update from them, someone appeared or they got a phone call, and the young lady, the sister of the young lady who was in the school, ran away screaming, quote, "She's been shot." So unfortunately, a sad update possibly to that story. Meantime, again, other people have shown up here. We've seen many hugs, many kisses, many relieved parents who, some of them actually texted with their students during this ordeal, finally got to see them face to face once they were over at this location. And some buses continue to show up. Ralph, coming down the street here is a mass casualty evacuation ambulance. I'm not sure if anyone is on that vehicle. I think that may be some backup from, it appears, Atascocita Fire Department. I think I noticed another similar bus over near the high school earlier. This may have been the same one, but again, this has primarily been a rendezvous point for students coming from Santa Fe High School. They put their name on a list to make sure they're accounted for, and then they walk over to Alamo Gym to meet with their parents. But again, within the last few minutes, I saw some of those parents who had yet to see their children walk over to this high school to presumably get some kind of update on the status of their children. Now it may be becoming a staging point for various law enforcement and emergency personnel from other areas. We have Fort Bend County here, Atascocita, There's an Acadian ambulance. That's a private ambulance company. You see them lining up here, so this may be becoming a staging area after hours and hours of an emergency situation. And the aftermath continues to unfold, guys.
These parents who are finding out that the children, in that one case, may have been shot, and you pray that doctors are doing the best they can on her child. All right, thank you so much, Jason Miles, live at the Alamo Gym, where a lot of the students are now gathering, and parents are trying to find out about their students.
Yeah, again, we were updated earlier, at least 8 confirmed deaths. The sheriff saying between 8 and 10. That's Sheriff Ed Gonzalez saying 8 to 10 people have been shot. That includes students and also faculty as well, is what he's saying right now. Several people injured, being treated at local hospitals. We don't know how many yet. We don't know the extent of their injuries. One of those people who are injured is a Santa Fe ISD officer, but again, still don't know the extent of their injuries. And a lot of parents, where you just saw Jason Miles, are trying to meet up with their children there, hoping to get some news, any news, maybe thinking they might have lost a cell phone in the rush to evacuate and get out of the school. But many parents there, just a nightmare waiting to hear from their students and the status of their child.
Yeah, and what makes it so much more traumatizing is the fact that the story is still unfolding. Police are still trying to determine, are there any more explosive devices in this school?
Yeah.
We heard about the one arrest and the other student that was detained. They're still questioning that person, we could assume. What does that person have to say about what happened? What's going on at the scene at that trailer home? Are there explosive devices there? Are there guns? What evidence are they seizing there? Is that also another danger spot?
The call for this dropped just before 8 o'clock this morning, so this is the time when the kids are coming into school, and they are just arriving at school, just starting class, and it sounds like we're going to hear from one of the students who's talking a little bit about what he or she saw inside the school. Let's take a listen.
It was just so chaotic. Everybody just started running wherever they could go. As soon as we heard the sirens, we tried to follow the siren, or they tried to follow the sirens. I just ran to the forest because that's where I didn't think nobody could find me there.
Just so heartbreaking. One of the students talking about what they saw this morning. We have Janelle Fort, who did talk to some agents with the DPS earlier this morning. Janelle, what can you tell us? What's the latest that you're hearing?
Well, the latest that I'm hearing is that there is a media staging point that's at an elementary school not too far from here. As you know, we just talked to the Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez not too long ago. He confirmed that 8 to 10 people are dead from this incident, and he couldn't tell us the number of injuries. So right now, we're here, we're near the school, as I've been telling you guys throughout the morning, about 100 yards, maybe a little further from where we are on the right-hand side. As you can see, still very active scene here. At last check, they were going through those classrooms, kind of looking to see if there's any explosive devices there, trying to see if there's any students still left inside that may be hiding or hurt or deceased, or any staff or faculty that's still in there. There's still a number of helicopters circling this area right now. As I've been saying throughout the morning, a number of agencies are assisting in this. Besides the Santa Fe ISD Police Department, obviously there's also the Galveston County Sheriff's Office here, and the Harris County Sheriff's Office is also assisting in this. So still lots going on, still a lot of questions unanswered this morning as they go through, as they try and piece together. As we've said, that shooter, the main shooter, has been detained. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez told us that he's believed to be 17 years old. They also say that there is a second person that's been detained in connection with this. So we're still looking for more answers. We still got a lot of questions about this. Talked to a number of parents this morning. A lot of them feeling relieved that they were able to be reunited with their students. As you've seen, we talked to a number of students this morning. A lot of them shaking up. This happened 2 weeks before school is supposed to be over for the summer. So as you can imagine, it's just a very, very scary time for these students, these parents, the staff, and this community. I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
Janelle Fort, yes, I mean, they were looking forward to the end of school, May 31st, presumably studying for their exams, which were going to start next week.
Yeah, and getting ready for graduation for many of those seniors there.
And then now the most horrible day of their lives. You
know, in these situations, as we've seen over the years, most of the information is dispelled over social media. That's how people are getting updates as to where to pick up their parents, what exactly is going on. Law enforcement has been putting a lot of updates on Twitter and the school's Facebook page. So Brandy Smith Kenneth is in the studio now. You've been following a lot of the tweets and the Facebook messages that have been posted. A lot of people giving information, but many people giving their condolences and just trying to process what's happened. So, Brandy, what are you seeing online?
Well, we have seen so many people sharing their prayers, their thoughts, including President Trump, First Lady Melania Trump, Vice President Mike Pence, Mayor Sylvester Turner. But this right here is a tweet from April 20th, from when those school walkouts happened. And this was at Santa Fe High School. The girl who posted it said, Santa Fe High School, hashtag never again. We read a poem by a Parkland survivor, handed out gun violence fact sheets and orange ribbon, did 17 minutes of silence, and then talked about ways to raise awareness for gun violence and make your voice heard. And I don't know how well you can see the photo here, but it's a Santa Fe High School student with a sign that says Santa Fe High School says never again. This was less than a month ago, and now it's the scene of another school shooting. I want to break down a little bit about Santa Fe High School. You guys mentioned that school is almost out, so here we are on the 18th, the last day of school set for May 31st, and tonight there was supposed to be a varsity baseball game that obviously will not happen today. Looking at information from U.S. News and World Report, there are about 1,400, a little more than 1,400 students that attend Santa Fe High School. Most of them, or the largest student population is in 9th grade, a little more than 400 it looks like, and then split over 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. This is a primarily white school, 78%, with 19% Hispanic population, and gender distribution is split just about 50-50, 48% female to 52% male. This is one of those schools that, I mean, this could happen anywhere. To see a tweet from April 20th with a student holding that sign, never again, and to see it happen there now is pretty jarring, guys.
That's an understatement. You know, I went to their website. You know, and every school has a mission statement. The mission statement for Santa Fe High School is, we will inspire students to learn, grow, build relationships, and achieve success. Your heart has to go out to that entire community there in Santa Fe.
All of us in the studio here are parents. When we heard this news, our stomachs dropped. Jeremy Regalsi, you're also a parent. You're in the studio with us now. You've got an update. What's some of the new information that's come in?
Well, we've been, our team at KH11 Investigates has been piecing together the police dispatch recordings from the officers on the scene to police headquarters. It's quite chilling audio recordings to listen to. The first call came in at 7:32. We have condensed several of those transmissions to give you a feel in real time what was going on inside that building from the first responders. So let's take a listen right now.
Santa Fe ISD had shot fired, call disconnected. Have another caller saying people are getting shot.
We also need the flight for an officer down.
10-4, we got him.
60704, we're coming out the front doors. West Center ETA. He's actually shooting. He's in the art room. We got shots fired right now, guys.
Subject is in custody, and at least one subject is in custody. And at the time he's advising he just put IEDs, throw them in a room. We might have lots of sight bombs.
All units. This is just advising there's possibly pipe bomb, pressure cooker bomb somewhere in this area.
Check the closet. That's where I have 9 students and 1 teacher hiding.
9 students and 1 teacher hiding in a closet. A lot of information as well coming from that. We believe it's good information because it's not secondhand. These are, Reka and Ron, officers on the scene witnessing this. I don't believe it was included in there, but one officer said we have 2 visible IEDs, 2 visible improvised explosive devices, and then another said we may have a pipe bomb or a pressure cooker device.
Yeah.
Which, go ahead.
Sorry, that goes along with what Santa Fe ISD had just updated a few minutes ago, saying that possible explosive devices have been located at the school and off campus. Law enforcement is in the process of rendering them safe. the school has been evacuated. And again, they're asking people to look for suspicious devices because, as your sources have told you, they have found possible pipe bombs.
Well, and we've been reporting this now for the past 3 hours, that there was this possibility that it was more than guns and bullets, that in fact there was some sort of explosive device in there, a suspicious package. That's why the bomb squad and the tactical teams were going in, doing a sweep. My county source earlier said we are taking this information of a possible explosive device very seriously. This just wasn't a standard, operating procedure to clear the building.
Because
this was real.
And it also means that this was planned.
Well,
I would assume.
It definitely adds another dimension to it, because now a bunch of questions are, okay, did the bomb go off first and then the shots were fired? Did the shots go off and as people were running out, a bomb was thrown? Those are questions we still don't know, and obviously probably will take days before investigators actually piece together an exact timeline. But certainly it adds another dimension that now you have explosive devices into the mix.
And now, for the benefit of those who, like me, I had trouble hearing exactly what was being said on those dispatch tapes, but I heard the first call about shots being fired. I heard officer down. I heard somebody say that.
And we don't have more information on that. That's still a question mark. We know one officer was injured. We don't know the circumstances or the extent.
And then it got extremely, you could hear it was getting agitated in the voice,
going
the front door. I heard about the front door, going to the front door.
We also heard that shots were coming from the art room, and that coincides with what student accounts from earlier who were inside.
This is also very scary for authorities because they're trying to go into the school, render these possible devices safe. In the meantime, they're searching for other students who might be hiding. They're searching for other people who might be injured. They're searching for possibly any more deceased, any more victims who may be in the school. So this sort of complicates that search for them.
Undoubtedly, and not only that, if you go back to Parkland, the shooter there mixed himself in with the crowd as just another student walking out to be rescued. And so your point is very valid, Rekha, because officers just don't know what they have. Are these innocent victims? Is, in fact, the shooter blending in? Now, we have no information saying that, but in terms of putting yourself in the shoes of those first responders, there's a lot of unknowns. And obviously, you have carnage, you have shots, you have people injured. And of course, we know now that 8 to 10 were deceased. And then add to the into the mix that there may be an explosive device. A very chaotic scene.
Yes, and it's not the biggest of high schools, but it has around 1,500 students. So it's a high school, so there's a lot that they, and just in terms of the campus itself, that they have to look through.
Now, this investigation is obviously going to shift, and we're trying to track it as quickly as we can into, all right, who is the shooter? What is he all about? What is his past? Did he have a motive? All of those questions. What we can tell you is we have a name from multiple sources. We are not releasing that name until it's 100% confirmed, but we are backgrounding that individual, scrubbing his social media posts, looking at any potential criminal histories, looking at any activity online. We can tell you real quickly, there's some disturbing things. If in fact the person who we believe is the shooter turns out to be confirmed as the shooter, we have T-shirts where he just a few weeks ago posted a T-shirt saying "Born to Kill," a dark gray T-shirt, "Born to Kill."
These are all on social media.
They
Facebook?
Are. That was Facebook.
This is on a Facebook page. I have a question. So we've been hearing, and you might have a better idea of what exactly happened, but we've been hearing conflicting reports about the fire alarm being pulled, and who pulled the fire alarm. Was it the suspected shooter? 2 students that I believe one of our reporters had interviewed live had mentioned that they saw a substitute teacher pull that. And of course, we saw that in Parkland. That just makes the situation even more chaotic as students are fleeing and running out of school thinking it might be a fire alarm, and then there's a shooter inside the school. What have you heard about that? What are your sources telling you?
I have not been able to get any more information on that, but that is going to be a key question indeed, because was it a replica of Parkland in so much as the fire alarm was pulled to draw students out and then they're basically sitting ducks? Unfortunately, there's no other way to describe it. Or was it a case where it was a substitute just trying to get people out, which would be interesting as well, because we just heard on the dispatch tape that they were sheltering. There was 9 students and a teacher hiding in a closet, and that normally is protocol, is to lock the door and hide and wait. Run, hide, fight. We always hear those 3 sort of things to do in an active situation. So Very good questions, still unanswered questions. We don't want to assume anything, of course. And yes, I think we put that in the conflicting reports column as presently.
Okay, we're waiting for a news conference to start in just a few minutes, but Jeremy, while we still have you, is there anything else that you feel safe telling us about this suspect? Was he an only child? Does he have a big family? Anything else like that?
Yeah, at this point he's 17. Again, one Facebook post that really stood out to us was this post simply with a t-shirt that said "Born to Kill." Our team of producers is, like I said, scrubbing his other social media as we speak. And again, the scene that Melissa Correa is, which is about a half mile on Highway 6, there's a lot of police activity there.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Jeremy Rogowski. Let's go to this news conference now.
Tragedy at our high school this morning. We are grieving the loss of members of our Santa Fe ISD family. We have received outpouring of support from across the state, and we appreciate your continued prayers for our students, our staff, and our community. I'm going to turn it over to our Chief of Police, Walter Ron, to share with you some details that we have at this time. Thank you.
As you're aware, a horrific event occurred today at Santa Fe High School. This time the campus has been cleared of all students and staff members, and the students and staff have been relocated to a reunification site and are in the process of being reunited with their families. We're at the operational stages now in the investigation. We know that there's been at least 6 transported, including one Santa Fe ISD police officer that has been shot. We have 1 suspect in custody and 1 person of interest detained. Anyone with information regarding this event is asked to contact our Santa Fe ISD Command Center at area code 409-927-3310. We can confirm multiple fatalities, believed to be fewer than 10 at this time. We will not release any other information until we have a confirmed number. Injured students and staff have been transported to area hospitals. Any parents and family members can go to the Alamo Gym, which is located at 13306 State Highway 6, for any additional information regarding their student. Our primary focus at this point in the investigation has been to secure the schools and evacuate all the students to the evacuation relocation facility. There are multiple agencies on site to support our district and our community, such as the FBI, the ATF, Texas Department of Public Safety, and other area law enforcement agencies and first responders. There have been explosive devices found in the high school and surrounding areas adjacent to the high school. Because of the threat of these explosive items, community members should be on the lookout for any suspicious items and anything that looks out of place. Do not touch any items that look out of place, and immediately call 911 so that the appropriate authorities can respond. And our thoughts and prayers go out to our students, staff, and our community. Please pray for SFISD.
As the chief of Santa Fe PD, my thoughts and prayers are with those that are affected by this event this morning. I just want to reiterate that to all community members to keep a vigilant watch around the areas that you know, your neighborhoods, for any suspicious items that you may see, and please call 911. There is, like I said, been confirmed reports of explosives found both on the campus and off the campus, so that's our main concern, is to keep the community safe. So please make the call if you see something suspicious, and someone will respond to assist. That's all I have. God bless.
I'm Mark Henry. I'm the county judge of Galveston County, Texas. I'm the chief elected official for Galveston County. Galveston County is providing all the assistance we can, both through Galveston County Sheriff's Office and Galveston County District Attorney's Office, to the Santa Fe ISD police agencies and the city of Santa Fe. I don't really have much else to add. I do want to emphasize this was a tragic loss of life this morning. First call came in at 7:32. I received my first phone call about 7:45. It has been a difficult scene, difficult time for everyone involved. So again, I ask that you pray for the people who have suffered some injury and loss today. And I want to emphasize again, I was just informed recently they did find suspect material off campus, so it's not isolated to the high school campus. Anything you see that looks suspicious, please don't touch it. Please call 911. Then we have mayors of Santa Fe. We have the retiring Mayor Jeff Tambrella, incoming Mayor Jason Tabor.
Thank you. I'm Mayor Jeff Tambrella. I want to thank all the law enforcement and other emergency responders that came so quickly to the aid of the Santa Fe ISD and to our community. And I'm just asking everyone out there to pray and put their thoughts and prayers into all the people affected and for our community to heal through this situation. Thank you.
I'm Mayor-elect Jason Tabor. Just please pray for Santa Fe. Please, if you see anything suspicious, call 911. And we appreciate the prayers. Our community's at a loss right now.
I don't know that we can answer any questions at this point, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We do expect the governor to be landing at the scene here any minute now, so I'm going to head up back over to the scene. I'm sure we'll have another press conference in the next couple of hours.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right, we've been listening live to the latest news conference from the Santa Fe area. A host of local officials from there, ranging from the police chief to the mayor. The person who spoke the most was the police chief of Santa Fe, the police department, talking about what's going on right now. 6 people transported to the hospital that he knows of, including a Santa Fe ISD police officer. He also said that fewer than 10 people are dead. We have multiple fatalities, but he said fewer than 10. Again, talking about 1 person in custody, 1 detained. And now they're trying to secure the school, evacuating the school, trying to get parents reunited with their children.
Yeah, one of the things that we learned from this press conference that we have been talking about but was confirmed here was that explosive devices were found inside the high school and in surrounding areas adjacent to the high school. So what authorities are asking the public to do is be on the lookout, be very careful. If you see a suspicious device, don't go near it, don't touch it, call 911. This was sort of the information that was cemented during this news conference. We've been talking a lot about that, and reporter Melissa Correa is at a scene about 3 miles from the school, suspected to be the suspected shooter's home, where law enforcement is looking at possible explosive devices there as well. So again, if you are in this area near Santa Fe High School and you see a suspicious device or a package, please call 911. Do not touch that package. In the meantime, you heard, like Ron just said, the chief of police, Santa Fe PD, also mentioned that there are fewer than 10 fatalities. But again, they're having trouble confirming these numbers because remember, at least 6 people have been transported to area hospitals. That includes a Santa Fe ISD officer. They don't know the extent of the injuries right now, and because there was a shooter involved, possible explosives involved, they don't know how they were injured. So unfortunately, the death toll there is where it stands right now, between 8 and 10.
Yeah, the big takeaway for me is to be on the lookout, because these explosive devices are found in and near the school, and also near the school right now. Melissa Correa, she is with this second location near the school where law enforcement is gathered looking for more evidence. Melissa.
Hey there, Ron. Yeah, I was listening to that press conference just like you, and as soon as authorities said, listen, Santa Fe community, be on the lookout for anything suspicious, my heart dropped, because this community just continues to get pounded by trauma and tragedy. This second scene, we don't have confirmation yet that this is the location where authorities did find explosives. We do know now that Santa Fe police are confirming they found explosive devices on and off the high school campus. We're 3 miles away. We do know that they're searching a mobile home just down the street from us for the potential of explosive devices. And Reka and Ron, this has been the scene all morning. Law enforcement vehicles literally racing back and forth from the high school to this trailer home here on the 19,000 block of Highway 6. To give you some perspective, we're posted up at Thompson Road. That is the nearest, or the closest rather, that we could get. Now, I've been doing some social media in between our live gunshot hits. And for those of you who have access to Twitter, I pulled up some Google image maps to show you at the last check what that area looked like, where authorities are now essentially camped out and searching for explosive devices. It's a heavily wooded area. It appears that there is one home in addition to a long trailer home on the property. Photojournalist Mars Juarez was actually coming this way from Katy to meet me this morning, and he said earlier in the morning this area was still available. He could still access it. There were maybe 2 or 3 police officers parked outside of the home there, but around 10:30 this morning it was all hands on deck, with authorities shutting down this road and access to people. Now, you talk about authorities saying, listen, community of Santa Fe, if you see anything suspicious, call us. As far as we know, neighbors who were on their property here along Highway 6 are still at home. You cannot move in and out of the neighborhood, but if you're on your property, we believe you're okay. So that should ease some concern when we're talking about the potential for explosive devices, which could be anywhere. And the other question is it somewhere else in this community? I hollered at a Galveston County Sheriff's deputy who's directing traffic, asking if they know of any other scenes that are under investigation. He said he's been swamped with this scene. He does not know, but at least 2 scenes, Santa Fe High School and this mobile home here on Highway 6, now being swept for the potential of explosive devices. You got to just pause, and your heart aches, not only for the parents who are dealing with this, but neighbors who are detouring through this community, who are now on edge, on alert on this Friday afternoon. We know a couple of ambulances are also down there, Ron and Reka. Don't know if it's because explosive devices, don't know if there's the potential for anyone to get injured, but I will note today authorities are handling these investigations outside, and it is a hot day. Law enforcement already shuffling lots of water in between, so in addition to the safety and the security throughout the investigation, there's concern for law enforcement, and we know Governor Abbott's going to be here for a press conference at 1 o'clock today. This just continues to unravel, and each time we get an update, there's more concern, more worry for people in this corner of Galveston County. So far, KHOU 11, the only television station live from this vantage point here at the second scene. I'm hoping my colleagues can do us some teamwork and ask questions about everything that's going on. But again, authorities here in Santa Fe confirming they did find explosives on and off of Santa Fe High School's property. And I'm going to leave you with this view, Reka and Ron, to talk over as the day moves forward. Guys?
Well, Melissa, can I ask you a question now? Can you give us more of an idea of what we're talking about in this neighborhood? This is is it a mobile home park, or is it a mobile home by itself surrounded by homes? Can you tell us?
From what I was able to gather, Ron, from Google Images, and again, I don't know the last time they did those satellite images. It's got to be recent, right? Google does us justice with that. But it appears as though it's a home and a trailer home, and then a heavily wooded area, like quite a few trees. You can see all of that green space there. It doesn't look like there is anyone immediately neighboring the property, which is conducive for Santa Fe, because a lot of these homes sit on sprawling pieces of land. It's nothing like in Houston, where we're used to just our neighbors literally on top of each other. But I can tell you, from what I can see here on Highway 6, I've got a couple of businesses off to one side, and appeared some mobile homes on this side, and then right in front of us, Ron and Reka, you can see we've got a small mobile home park here, but no one's really come out of that mobile home park. We did see someone cycle down Highway 6 earlier today. They were unaware of the investigation that was happening behind them. But the unfortunate thing is, as we try to track down people to talk a little bit about whether or not they know the neighbor's home that's now being inspected by authorities, people just aren't close enough to that property to give us an idea of what could be happening there. But I will say this much: they've set up for the long haul. They've got tents out there, they've got a communications truck out there, they've got ambulances out there, and at least a dozen different law enforcement agencies or agents are out there as well. I'm assuming Galveston County is handling this investigation, but since KHOU is the only one here live, we haven't been able to get those types of questions confirmed. But It's safer to say this is more of a secluded area, Ron, if that answers your question, than what we're used to seeing in the city.
And you're near Thompson Road.
Off of Highway 6. Melissa Correa, thank you so much.
Thompson Road and Highway 6.
We're going to keep looking at your live shot. In the meantime, just to wrap up a little bit, 11:42 right now. You know, if you are just joining us, we've been following this story since about 7:30 this morning, where shots rang out at Santa Fe High School. Right now, police say they've got one person in custody. That is a 17-year-old student. They are not revealing this suspected shooter's identity just yet. There's another person of interest we don't know much about right now, but it's a person of interest who has been detained. We heard from officials a few minutes ago about the number of fatalities. They're saying between 8 and 10. That's because this is still a very fluid situation. You have to understand that several people have been taken to local hospitals and they are injured. About 6 people, including a Santa Fe ISD officer. We don't know the extent of the injuries. We don't know what condition they are in right now. So we're keeping tabs on that and hoping to hear from doctors and medical personnel in just a few minutes from UTMB. In the meantime, what else has been confirmed in the big takeaways we mentioned earlier was that explosives have been found at the school. So authorities are still sweeping the school, finding suspicious devices, possible explosives. Also trying to see if, they said they have cleared the school, though they were still looking as of an hour ago for students or teachers, faculty who may have still been hiding, people who are injured, and other possible fatalities. But it looks like the school has been cleared of people, and now it is just about the explosive devices.
All right, some of the victims have been taken to UTMB in Galveston. Let's go to a news conference live there now.
Everyone ready? Ready.
Good afternoon. Well, it's almost afternoon. I'll provide you a brief update on the patients that we've received. Our count of patients still stands at 3. I can give you some details about our first patient arrived at 8:12 a.m. at our League City campus hospital and was transferred to Galveston subsequently for care in our Level 1 Trauma Center. At 8:31 a.m., our first patient arrived by helicopter from the site. He's currently in the operating room and in critical condition. The first patient that arrived at League City is in good condition, but she's also in the OR at this time. And then the patient who's under 18 is still in our hospital on the pediatric floor. Yes. The younger patient is a male.
Can you confirm that he is a student?
I do not know that information.
But was involved with the Santa Fe shooting, yeah?
Yes, he came from that area.
Based on the wounds, do you have any idea of the type of gun?
I don't have that information. I can tell you that the male patient that's in the operating room had a gunshot wound to the arm. The male patient that's under 18 had a gunshot wound to the leg. And the female patient who's in the operating room had a gunshot wound to the leg also.
You say the male in surgery right now had a gunshot wound to the arm?
Yes.
Not the chest?
No.
Okay. But we were told that the chest, there was some kind of a chest wound?
It was close to his chest.
So he's critical?
Upper arm, yes.
Is he still in the operating room?
Yes.
In surgery?
Yes.
How long has surgery been?
We have no idea how long his surgery will be.
So when you say someone is critical from a gunshot wound to the arm, does that mean like an artery was hit? What would make loss of blood?
He did suffer a significant blood loss, and that's why he's in critical condition.
Are the other 2 patients scheduled to undergo surgery?
The female, who's middle-aged, is in the OR now with her leg wound, and the 16-year-old, I don't think we anticipate that he will need to go to the operating room.
Is the 16-year-old awake, talking?
I have not seen him, so I do not know.
Okay. And what about the woman? She's in the OR?
She's been taken to the OR.
Okay. Does that mean for surgery?
Yes.
So if the 16-year-old does not need surgery, can we assume it was like a graze, like it was more a topical thing that you're treating rather than...
I don't have the details about his exact injury other than it's a wound to the leg.
What are the ages of the adults?
They're middle-aged adults. I do not have the specific ages.
And it's like between 20s and 30s? So 30s,
I think
40s,
higher, probably
30s,
50s.
40s, 50s. And all 3 patients came from Santa Fe High School, right?
The first patient arrived at our League City Hospital. She was taken, from what I understand, by her husband in a private automobile to League City and then transferred here by ambulance for our Level 1 Trauma Center. The helicopter brought the second patient from the scene, and then the third patient arrived by ambulance from the scene. We have not heard that we will be receiving more patients, tragically.
What's the most difficult thing you guys are being faced with?
Our staff are busy taking care of these patients and are standing by ready for other patients to come in. That's what's going on in there right now. I think there are a lot of personal feelings that people are having. As a father of a 16-year-old at Friendswood High School, this hurts.
I know earlier you were getting pumped up as well. Kind of tell us what's going through your mind. I mean, I think everyone is feeling the way you're feeling right now.
Just, you know, it's a horrible tragedy. Our hearts go out to those folks in Santa Fe and the high school students and their teachers and their administration, and we're doing the best we can to be a community partner to take care of them. And I think, you know, we're going to continue to do that, and that's what we're here for, and that makes me feel better about being able to do that.
When you say that you were waiting for more patients, hoping, I mean, tragically, of course, meaning, you know, were you worried that maybe there were still some more survivors who needed help?
We haven't heard. You know, there's.
At the time, were you getting word?
Yes. Okay. We were understanding that there would be additional patients, so we made ourselves ready.
Have any of the relatives showed up already here?
There have been some relatives who've shown up, some who don't have students here or patients here, but they don't know where to go. So, you know, that information about the Family Reunification Center at the Alamo Gym in Santa Fe is very important for parents to understand that that's probably the best location to go to locate a child.
Have you been in touch with other area hospitals that are taking in patients? Are you all?
No, we haven't. We've gotten support or offers of support from colleagues like MD Anderson have called and said, if you need us, we can come help you. But we haven't talked to hospitals that have received other patients.
So you recently completed a crisis site drill here?
We do drills probably quarterly at UTMB to keep our level 1 trauma center status intact. It's sort of an expectation that we practice for these sorts of situations. So that's why we're good at it. Well, that's why we're ready at all times.
Could you briefly describe, just for the viewers, what a level 1 designation?
Sure. A level 1 trauma center in our nation, there are 4 levels of trauma centers. Level 1 is the highest level. It means that surgeons are always available, that blood products are always available, that ORs are always available and ready to take a patient into them. That's a level 1 trauma center. So there's lesser degrees of resources available at the lesser ranked ERs. Are we the closest level 1 trauma center to the Santa Fe High School? Yes. There are 3 level 1 trauma centers in the Houston-Galveston area: Memorial Hermann, Ben Taub, and UTMB.
Have you spoken to the youngest one and he told you what it was like in there?
I have not spoken to any of the patients.
There's a mobile blood bank set up. People are thinking about donating. What's your message?
MD Anderson is bringing their mobile blood van to be in front of our Jenny Seeley Hospital. They'll be there at 11:30. They're going to set up and take blood donations today, and then if we need them to come back tomorrow, they'll be available tomorrow.
You guys can use the house?
Yes.
No, I think what Dr. Marshall said, that we have one patient who is critical and actively going surgery. The other 2 are stable and are in fair condition.
Can we ask, are those bullet wounds shotgun wounds, or are they pellet? Like, we're hearing different things about the gun use. Do you know anything about the kind of wounds?
I'm not aware of that at this time.
How long has a critical patient been in surgery now?
It's difficult for me to give the estimate, but in our next update we can provide that information.
How are surgeons feeling? Are they feeling, you know, good about what's happening in that surgery room right now with these critical patients? Or I know that's hard to tell, but is there any other patients?
So he is critically ill and he is stable. Critically ill but stable in the OR.
How many surgeons are there?
I'm not aware of the actual number of surgeons in there.
Do you know if any of the law enforcement have been able to interview or get information from any of the patients here?
I'm not aware of that information.
On another note, they've located, you know, some ancillary explosive devices, and they're trying to render those, make them inert. Are you all still in a state of readiness should that situation magnify?
Absolutely. So as Dr. Marshall suggested, we are level 1 trauma center. We have adequate number of staff and resources available to take care of those patients if the need arises.
And you said that earlier, none of you guys have met with the actual patients, right?
No, I have not.
So will you plan on doing that, or will you?
At some point, I hope to be able to go by and see the patients. But that may not be today.
One of them a police officer?
That is our understanding.
Wait, so you can confirm that the patient that's in critical condition is the resource officer that was shot at Santa Fe? Is that what you guys have?
That is our understanding.
When is technically considered a resource officer or the police officer?
I don't know his technical status.
But he was one of the officers that was shot at Santa Fe.
That's my understanding.
When will the next briefing be?
We can ask Mr. Reyes. Raul, when will be our next briefing be?
We're talking about 3 o'clock, and we're thinking about a better location where y'all can get better sound also. We'll let you all know, but probably somewhere in front of Jenny Seeley Hospital or maybe inside the hospital itself.
That's where we'll be at 3?
Maybe. I'll let you guys know. We're about to decide, make a decision in a while. We'll let you all know to make a better locale.
We're getting the most up-to-date information from the victims of the shooting this morning. They're now at UTMB Hospital in Galveston. 1 is in critical condition, 2 are in stable condition. 2 of them are adults, 1 under the age of 18. The person who is in critical condition, mainly because of the major loss of blood to that victim, a significant blood loss with him.
And he was shot, we were told by doctors, in the arm.
Yes.
Upper arm.
Upper arm, and a significant blood loss of that victim. They do not anticipate getting any more patients into UTMB. Tragically, they say that, because to them that just means death is more in the picture rather than injuries.
So the patient that is critical is in surgery. As the second patient, this female student under 18, is also in the OR right now, we understand, undergoing surgery. So a lot of moving parts right now. We're trying to confirm also, because there was so much chaos with parents trying to reunite with their kids, just want to confirm that the people at these local area hospitals, that their parents or loved ones are aware of their status right now. So we're hoping to confirm that that connection has been made. But in the meantime, you heard from Dr. Marshall at UTMB. They are working so hard, and a lot of staff is being dedicated to take care of these victims.
An emotional day for them, too,
yeah.
For all of us, you know, and they're working their darndest to try to save some lives today, and of course, they're thinking about their own families and the safety of everybody there in Santa Fe.
So Jeremy Rogowski is joining us in the studio right now. What's the latest?
So we've been looking into who we have been told is the suspect. He's a 17-year-old who lived in Alvin. We are withholding his name on purpose because officials have not confirmed it, but nonetheless we're trying to background this individual to learn more about him. I will tell you guys that there is not a huge social footprint from an initial search, but on Facebook, which his Facebook page, which incidentally Facebook has pulled down just in the last hour, there were a couple of photos that are very telling. One, 2 of them came from April 30th. One was simply a shot of a T-shirt that said "Born to Kill" in white lettering over what appeared to be a dark gray T-shirt. And then there was another post of a uniform, a long army green colored coat. And the significance here is that it was adorned with some paraphernalia. It had a Nazi medallion on the left lapel, and there was also information talking about different verbiage on this post. One, the gentleman talked about kamikaze tactics. He also talked about rebellion. And so again, we don't know how this, if at all, it's connected, but it offers at least a glimpse into the state of mind if in fact this individual is confirmed to be the suspected shooter. Also on that Facebook post, he lists that he was going to be joining the Marines in 2019. We called the Public Information Office with the U.S. Marine Corps, and they say that in no way was this 17-year-old associated with the U.S. Marines. So that apparently was not accurate according to his Facebook post.
So they hadn't even heard of him?
They had not. They ran his name, they ran his date of birth. They said no, he hadn't enlisted, he wasn't active, he wasn't planning to be active. So no military association, at least according to the U.S. Marine Corps. Again, he's 17. The only people listed at his address in terms of driver's license are who appears to be his mother, his father, and the 17-year-old. That is not to say he doesn't have older siblings who have lived somewhere else and no longer have a driver's license listed there. But again, two very interesting posts, two pictures. One, a T-shirt that says "Born to Kill," and another, a long army green coat with a Nazi World War II medallion, and language in that post talking about rebellion, talking about kamikaze tactics. So other than that, not a whole lot from an initial scrub of his social media, not a whole lot of social media footprint.
And it was like a Nazi...
it was a medallion, and it was hanging from his upper left lapel, the kind you might see on a World War II German uniform.
And the address that you have on him, is that the same address where we have our live shot from right now?
That Melissa Correa has been
that is
about 3 miles from the school?
That is correct, and we've heard from Melissa saying that they were doing a sweep of that property well, and of course that coincides with what Santa Fe ISD police said in terms of finding explosive devices not only inside the school building but in adjacent areas as well as off campus. So,
and that's why police are asking people to be on the lookout, because it's not just contained to inside the school or possibly inside this trailer home, but they said that there are suspicious devices and packages adjacent to the school as well.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we're in a situation now where who knows if there are any booby traps and where he laid them and how many. And so if you're talking about multiple devices, which is again corroborates what we've been reporting earlier in the day from that police scanner traffic. They found 2 IEDs inside the school, possibly a live pipe bomb or pressure cooking device, as we heard from one of those officers. Now we're hearing that there's more found off campus. Certainly this appears to be planned. It appears to be, well thought out, well calculated. And undoubtedly that is very scary.
And now, have you heard anything about this other person who's been detained?
We have not. That's a great question. Other than what we heard from Sheriff Gonzalez earlier, saying it is a person of interest. We don't know if that person was an accomplice, to what extent, or maybe he or she just knows something and they want to keep that person in custody to ask questions and get more information. Obviously, everybody is on an information gathering hunt here in rapid and real time, and the more information they can get, the better they are at trying to piece this whole puzzle together.
So right now, the number of fatalities, police have been somewhat vague in saying it's between 8 to 10 people. I'm sorry, Ron, go ahead.
You've been watching our live continuous coverage of this tragedy in Santa Fe. We continue now with KHOU 11 News at noon. Oh, go ahead, Reka.
Oh, no, I was just to catch people up. Officials saying that the number of fatalities is between 8 and 10, so at least 8 people. But again, we are waiting on many of those who are injured at local hospitals, and we are hoping that they're going to pull through. We heard from UTMB officials just a few minutes ago saying that 2 people are in stable condition. 1 person is in critical condition. That person is undergoing surgery right now. We believe it's an adult male who was shot in the arm. He was taken by life flight to that Trauma 1 medical center, and right now undergoing surgery. Again, the other 2, another adult and a female under 18, are in stable condition.
All right. Tiffany Craig is here, and she's been checking some of the things that you may have heard might have been rumors. She's trying to separate rumors from fact now. Tiffany, what's the latest?
Yeah, Ron and Reka, basically what we did was, you'll see on the screen behind me, we have an area called verify, and then the section in the middle, and then this area that we call false, because we're going to break it down for you. We've spent the last hour or 2 going through this, and we just want to show you this is the information we know as of right now. The alleged shooter is in custody, and we also know from reports and from live broadcasts just a short time ago that a second person of interest is also in custody. And guys, if I have this right, both are said to be students. Isn't that correct? Yes, yeah. So both are said to be students. So again, that is a verified piece of information. 6 patients at the hospital right now, including an injured police officer from Santa Fe ISD. So again, 6 patients in the hospital now, including that police officer. We know that at least 8 have been killed. There's been numbers going back and forth, but at this point what we're going to say is at least 8 have been killed in this horrible tragedy this morning in Santa Fe. We also know that an officer was injured. An officer that was at some point on the scene was injured in this shooting as well. Students were evacuated this morning. You've seen from some of the video and just some of the interviews from students and parents, it was a madhouse. People were running everywhere, and so they were eventually evacuated and taken to the Alamo gym, and that's where parents and students were being reunited. This middle section here, this is bits and pieces of information that we've heard about, but we have not been able to independently confirm because we want to get it right, and we're going to take that extra time to make sure we do get it right for you. One of those is that a teacher pulled the fire alarm. It was reported multiple places that a fire alarm was going off, but no one was quite sure who pulled the alarm, and the reports are that a teacher actually pulled that fire alarm. As soon as we know for sure, we'll let you know on that. Also, there was a report and there was some information from dispatchers that perhaps the art class was targeted in this shooting. Again, we have not put it under this list because we are not 100% sure, but take a look at what we do know. And there's one more thing I want to show you, and this is coming up a lot on social media right now. People love to throw out this stuff, and we want you to know that it's false. 18 school shootings in 2018. That's a big number. That's a big, scary number. But that is not 18 situations like what you've been watching on TV this morning. That includes a variety of things, shootings around schools, even suicide. So that is a large number that has been lumped in with a number of different type scenarios, but not what you've been watching on TV. So again, this number is being passed around, but know that this is false. This we are still trying to confirm, and this right here we have managed to verify. This is an ongoing situation, so obviously some of the information over here will change, but as of right now, that's the latest that we have for you.
Tiffany, and we did hear some of the dispatch tapes, and they did mention the art class, but as to whether it was targeted specifically, we don't know yet.
Right, we don't. So that's why it's staying in that column for now.
18 school shootings, even one is one too many.
Indeed, indeed. And that's been passed around a lot, and then people retweet it and they share it on Facebook, and then that becomes the discussion.
Yeah.
But that's not true. It's not a fair assessment of what's going on.
Absolutely. And we're with so many moving parts still, we're trying to keep the facts straight. So stay with us. Thank you, Tiffany. We appreciate that. Right now we're going to go out to Jason Miles. He is at Alamo Gym. Now this has been a very emotional place because this is where parents and students are reuniting, and they've been doing so all morning after the shooting unfolded. Jason, are you there?
Well, not so much reuniting right now, guys. In fact, just a moment ago, I saw who appeared to be a mom or at least a family member of a Santa Fe High School student run across the street in tears, being hugged by someone else, and they got into a car, presumably to head perhaps to the hospital. Several families have come out and told me their loved ones, their children in some cases, were indeed victims of this shooting, and they were now leaving this location to go to the hospital. A mom I interviewed live on TV just within the last couple of hours who was still waiting to hear from her daughter Sarah, believed to be in the same classroom or near the classroom where the shooting actually happened. She was trying to get in touch with her via text and phone call. She was not able to do so. Shortly thereafter, one of her other daughters, also a student at the high school, ran away from here shouting, quote, "She's been shot, she's been shot." A police official with League City Police has confirmed that that young lady was indeed shot at the school, but at the hospital. So our thoughts are with that family as they continue to digest what's been going on here. This is what I'm told is a junior high school building, or at least part of what was the junior high school. I'm not sure if it's used as a school still, but it's behind the football field, a football field, and the Alamo Gym that you mentioned, so all in the same vicinity. This is where parents are coming now. They were initially being reunited with their students at the gym. Presumably, parents who had not made contact with their students, their loved ones, their children, came over here to this school and are now being told various things, in some cases that their loved ones or children were indeed victims of this school shooting. The parents then leave here and go to the hospital. Some sad updates, certainly, in some of the stories we've covered right here on Channel 11. We're still waiting to hear more information from the officials here, but that includes multiple agencies. This has become also somewhat of a staging area area, for all of the surrounding law enforcement agencies that have joined the effort here in Santa Fe. The American Red Cross here as well. I've seen them give out food and drinks to some of the family and friends and other loved ones of the students affected by today's tragedy here in Santa Fe. We will, of course, continue to monitor things and hear from family members as they leave. Understandably, some of them too overcome with emotion to give us any information about their loved ones, but clear to see out here, and it is definitely evident that the emotions are running high as some people, end a Friday afternoon not as they expected. They thought this was, leading up to the end of the school year, a normal Friday afternoon. In some cases, students tell me it was kind of a pass day. They were kind of taking it easy. The instruction wasn't that rigorous. In some cases, I think some kids were taking tests, but it was kind of a Friday at the end of the school year, interrupted by tragedy, to say the least.
All right, Jason Miles out there reporting for us at the scene, near the scene, of course, of the Santa Fe High School shooting. It has been a traumatic day down there in Galveston County.
Traumatic, chaotic, and just flat out scary for those involved, and it still remains quite this scare as we have a fluid situation here. Just within the last hour, we learned that there are explosives that were both on and off the campus. Police officials warning the community to keep an eye out if they see anything, to be in contact with them. Thank you for joining us here at 12:08 on this Friday afternoon. If you are just joining us, we want to bring you up to speed about the deadly school shooting at Santa Fe High School that happened this morning shortly after school started. First period is what students were saying when they heard those initial gunshots. We've heard from the Santa Fe ISD police chief that fewer than 10 fatalities, fewer than 10 people have been killed. We heard from him in a briefing within the last hour as well. We have 6 individuals who are hospitalized at area hospitals there in Galveston County. We're awaiting word, we understand, from Clear Lake Hospital within the next hour, information there about patients that they are treating.
And we know that one of the wounded is a police officer who made that scene. Authorities also at a second location. This is going to be, I believe it's a mobile home. That address matching the address to someone who has been identified to us as a potential suspect from KHOU sources, and that there may be incendiary devices, explosive devices at that location. And that is where our Melissa Correa is now live. Let's see if we can check in with her for the latest at that scene. Melissa?
Hey there, Sherman. Just spoke with some Galveston County deputies who continue to move back and forth between Santa Fe High School and this home, this trailer home about 3 miles from campus. Asked them point blank, are you all going to break down anytime soon? They said, no, ma'am. But let me tell you why I asked that question, Sherman, because if you all have been following us this morning here at the second scene, we're posted up at Highway 6 and Thompson Road. An hour and a half ago, there was a whole lot of law enforcement. Now we've got Pearland police pulling up on the scene. There was an orange tent set up at one point, and now for the most part, a lot of the flashing lights, a lot of the law enforcement presence has dwindled out here, which makes me wonder what they found inside of that home. Santa Fe law enforcement will only go as far as telling the public that they did find explosive devices on campus and in the community, but they're not telling us where, which makes me wonder what else is happening throughout this community, this stretch of Galveston County. We are making contact slowly but surely with a few people that live near this trailer home that's now being swept by law enforcement. They're telling us that even from their homes, they're closer to this property, well, much closer than we are. They can't see much because it's a heavily wooded area. There seems to be quite a bit of junk, they say, or mess and debris on the property, which doesn't allow for a good vantage point. All morning long, neighbors have been trying to get back to their properties. Cops are telling them that they've got a detour, they've got to find another way around. Meanwhile, at least 2, 3 more state troopers and Here we go. We've got a new crew coming in. Maybe they were just switching shifts. This is what's happening here. And they're going really quickly, speeding through these 3 miles between the high school and this home. Again, we have not received confirmation that they did find explosive devices in this home. We do know that law enforcement have been out here. They've set up a perimeter. They've kept everybody away, at least since about 10 this morning. And it gives me some pause, guys, because Sherman and Mia, the vehicles have passed the home, and they're continuing down Highway 6. So this is what we've got out here. A lot of people frustrated by the detours, concerned, worried, freaked out by the fact that law enforcement are telling them to keep an eye out for suspicious activity. As again, law enforcement just continues to zoom through these investigative sites here along Highway 6. Mia and Sherman.
You've got several law enforcement agencies assisting, obviously the Santa Fe, the school district, Harris County is assisting. We saw
the FBI, the ATF. It's a myriad of different law enforcement agencies here in Texas, and we expect to see only more as the investigation really just gets going here. Very much an active scene still. As Melissa was saying, it looked like it was winding down, but very quickly it changes. All right, we know a lot of you have questions at this moment about what can you do to help this community and this tragedy that they're dealing with. Lauren Tallarico joins us now. Lauren, a lot of people, when this happens, you know, they can be 50 miles away and they want to do something. What are you telling people?
Absolutely. We're hearing two main questions, right? How can they help, and also what can they do, because people feel helpless themselves about what to say to their kids, how they're wrestling with certain emotions they might be having. So we're standing for Houston. We're here to help you with both of those things. First of all, the UTMB is hosting a blood drive today, right now, until 2:30 this afternoon. So if you go to UTMB's campus, they are asking for blood donations to help anybody who may need it. That's going to be going on again until 2:30 today. That blood drive will continue tomorrow as well as on Sunday from, I believe, 9:30 in the morning until 3 p.m. So if you go to UTMB, tell them why you're there. They will assist you. They will help you donate blood. Also, when it comes to personal feelings, every single person right now watching this, every single person hearing about this is feeling something. Disgust, sadness, I mean, you name it, anger, you name it. And also, a lot of people wondering, how do they talk to their kids? This is graduation season, right? People are supposed to be
It's the happiest time of the year for students and their families.
It
and
is.
then to have this happen.
Certainly it should be.
Yes.
And people are scared to send their children back. Right? So what do you say? Well, we are here answering your questions. We're going to be on Facebook Live. We have Dr. Stevens, who is the head of child psychology at the Menninger Clinic. He is here with us right now. In just a minute, I'm going to be on Facebook Live, and you can ask him any question you may have live. We are answering every question that you have, trying to help you, trying to help all of us wrestle and work out these emotions that, of course, no doubt we all have right now.
And I think that's the thing, you know, we talk about parents and students right now, but you don't even need to have a student to feel this situation and be impacted by it and have emotions about it.
Oh, absolutely. If you don't have a child, if you're just a human being, if you have a heart, which we know we all do, right? I mean, especially to have this right in our backyard. We see it over and over again at places, at schools across the country. Now, it's here. We're not just reporting on it happening in another state. I mean, I just got goosebumps when you come to terms with it. It's happening right here, right now.
And I know, for example, you have a very young child at home, and some of the things that psychiatrists tell us in these sorts of situations is that when they're younger than 5 or 4, when they see something on television, or so I'm hearing, they see it as a new event each time.
Yes.
So if they see something about a school shooting, they may register it as something separate, even though as adults we know this is, you know, the clip running again and again.
Yes.
So important to monitor what they're accessing.
Absolutely, Sherman. And as we've covered in the past, it is very, very important how you discuss situations like this with your children, and it changes depending on their age and what level they are in school. So again, we are answering your questions live. We have Dr. Stevens here with Menninger Clinic. He is going to be answering all of your questions on Facebook Live here as soon as I get off air. And one more time, if you would like to help, UTMB is asking for blood donations. They are taking those donations right now at UTMB until 2:30 this afternoon. Again, tomorrow and Sunday they will be there. So I know a lot of us right now feel helpless this is how you can help.
This is the way to help. All right, Lauren Tallarico, we're going to let you go. Get on Facebook so you can help people out there. And, you know, we're talking about this blood drive that's going to be taking place at UTMB. UTMB receiving the majority of the patients at this time, treating 3 gunshot victims. We know there is an adult male, a female under 18, and a male under 18. This is all information coming from the hospital this past hour. 3 of the victims suffered gunshot wounds to the legs and arms. We know that there is a man in surgery. UTMB says a 4th patient is at a hospital in League City in good condition. And these are just the 4 patients that we know about. There might be more, as we're going to hear from Clear Lake Hospital coming up a little bit later. But that's why this blood drive is now so important.
Yeah, absolutely. That adult male that we were talking about, the one in surgery, our understanding is that he actually took injuries to the chest. He was in critical condition. So that'll be a very serious case to keep an eye on for that gentleman as we await that press conference coming up in about 10 minutes from another hospital at Clear Lake. Of course, this shooting has gotten nationwide attention. You know, national networks have been covering this as well, and it has also, of course, been on the radar of the president. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Expressing our sadness and heartbreak over the deadly shooting at Santa Fe High School in Texas just took place moments ago. We're closely monitoring the situation, and federal authorities are coordinating with local officials. This has been going on too long in our country, too many years, too many decades now. We grieve for the terrible loss of life and send our support and love to everyone affected by this absolutely horrific attack. To the students, families, teachers, and personnel at Santa Fe High, we're with you in this tragic hour, and we will be with you forever.
President Trump there sharing some words with the country following, sadly, this latest mass shooting here in Texas. The last time would have been the Sutherland Church shooting that caught everyone's attention here in Texas. Elected officials obviously paying close attention to this.
Of course they are, and including the governor of Texas, Governor Greg Abbott, obviously staying on top of the situation and putting out his words out there on social media. Brandy Smith joins us now with a look at that. Brandy?
Well, ladies, Governor Abbott actually just released a statement ordering all flags to be lowered to half-staff in memory of those killed and injured today at Santa Fe High School. He also tweeted earlier that he's on his way to Santa Fe High School. He should be there in just less than an hour for a press conference. So we will, of course, bring that to you live. You heard from President Trump there at a press conference, but he also tweeted earlier that he said, God bless all of those involved in the shooting today. We also heard from Vice President Mike Pence. He says to the students, families, teachers of Santa Fe High School, all of those affected in the entire community, we are with you. You are in our prayers, and you're in the prayers of the American people. That was echoed by the First Lady, Melania Trump. She said, my heart goes out to Santa Fe and all of Texas today. We're also hearing from city leaders like Mayor Sylvester Turner, who tweeted, my heart and concerns are with Santa Fe students, parents, faculty, and law enforcement as we watch this sad campus shooting unfold. J.J. Watt woke up to this news like the rest of us did this morning, and I think he summarizes it best, just saying absolutely horrific. Now, we are starting to hear from some of the survivors of the Parkland shooting as well. They organized the March for Our Lives, that whole movement after the February 14th shooting there. They released this statement. We are deeply saddened by the tragedy at Santa Fe High School and send our love and support to the families affected as well as the entire community. Though this is the 22nd school shooting this year, and I want to clarify, that is not situations like we've seen at Santa Fe this morning. That could be a shooting at an empty school. It could be a shooting on school property. It could be a suicide. That's not 22 mass casualty shootings. Though this is the 22nd school shooting this year, we urge those reading this not to sweep it under the rug and forget. This is not the price of our freedom. This is the most fatal shooting since the one at our school, and tragedies like this will continue to happen unless action is taken. And something that has been very jarring for me today, and I know it's had a lot of reaction on social media as well, we talk about the March for Our Lives and the school walkouts that have happened since Parkland. Well, one of those was set on April 20th, less than a month ago. And that's when this photo was taken at Santa Fe High School. This is a student who was part of the walkout. She's sitting here with a sign that says Santa Fe High School, says never again. Less than a month ago. And here we are. It's had thousands of shares and responses now that all of this is unfolded this morning, ladies.
Very emotional for everybody, especially, and all of us here, ladies. We all have kids. Yours are probably middle school age.
They're approaching that age. They're 11 and 12.
Right, and I've got a high schooler, so you've got a little girl as well. All of these things as parents.
I just think
really
as community members, it's just tough. This is difficult for our entire community, our local community, and our greater community as well, whether you have students who go to school or not. It is scary when these attacks happen in our communities and our neighborhood. We're taking a live look here. This is the response in Alvin. Our Melissa Correa has been following the developments there. She's seen law enforcement come and go. Melissa, what are you seeing now?
Well, Mia, at the last check-in with you and Sherman, I had told you that we had seen a little less activity outside of this second location, this mobile home here on the 19,000 block of Highway 6. And off-camera, Galveston County Sheriff's deputy says it's because law enforcement is now waiting on a search warrant to enter in the property, which leads us to believe that they've done all of the investigating that they can do outside of the property, and now they need to enter that mobile home. Off-camera, I was also chatting with a gentleman who lives across the street from the property that's in question, and he said point blank, before the sun came up this morning, he heard an explosion, and he believes it came from across the street. Again, authorities here in Santa Fe have confirmed that they have discovered explosive devices on the high school campus and out in the community. We are currently waiting for confirmation as to whether or not they believe explosive devices are there in the home. Maybe it's something they can see from the windows or another vantage point on the property. Neighbors, which are far and few between on this stretch of Highway 6, ladies, have told us that it's difficult to see from their home into the property that is now being investigated. One, because there's just so much wooded area, a lot of trees, a lot of brush, things like that. Two, neighbors are also describing the property as a mess with junk and debris on it, and so it's difficult to see what law enforcement is doing. But behind our camera, you can hear traffic barreling through as more law enforcement makes their way on Highway 6. The detours continue again today. Just avoid this area if you can. Me and Sherman, you all have given major shout-outs to authorities, federal, state, and local, who are handling this investigation. Governor Abbott is now making his way to Santa Fe for a 1 p.m. press conference. And then, of course, there's the concern that explosive devices could be found throughout the community. So my best advice to you is to stay home. You're safer there. You're out of the way there. Law enforcement are able to move up and down Highway 6. I understand the curiosity of it, but there's just so much that we still don't know as we move into the afternoon. And again, there's so much that we still don't know about that property. Again, it looks like there is a home and then a trailer home on that wooded area. And again, authorities are currently waiting for a search warrant. That's what we're hearing from deputies to make their way into the property. We're about 3 miles from the high school. Sherman and Mia.
Hey, Melissa, thank you so much. And we have just gotten information that we can now identify the suspect, our Jeremy Rogowski, working this seriously all morning long. What do you got, Jeremy?
So a federal law enforcement official has confirmed to us that the shooting suspect, believed to be responsible for as many as 10 deaths, between 8 and 10, and numerous other injuries, is a 17-year-old Demetrius Pagorchis. Demetrius Pagorchis goes by the nickname Dimitri. Here is his Facebook post. You can see it as our investigative team has been scrubbing his social media footprint. There's another shot. You can see he posted recently some gaming consoles there, but there are other rather disturbing social media posts that we're about to see and that we've been speaking about here, ladies, in the last hour. And as we roll, there's the long army green coat, and if you look in the upper left lapel area, it's a Nazi Iron Cross. That post, I can tell you, also talked about kamikaze tactics and rebellion. There's the dark green T-shirt. In your lower right of your screen, it says Born to Kill. Now let's shift over to Dimitrios Pagorchas' Instagram account. You can see the gun and the knife on the right and a video game on the left with some sort of rifle video game there. Also of note is the pages he was following on Instagram that are very, very telling. Let me read you a couple of the pages. Very Best Gun Picks, Daily.Guns, it's a gun lovers page, Guns.Fans Club, Sick Guns, Guns Pictures, Guns Fanatic, Guns Lovers, Guns Glory. So you get the idea what we're dealing with as we look at this 17-year-old social media footprint.
Jeremy, I realize that, you know, of course on Facebook they've gone ahead and pulled down some of this. Were you able to glean any information from students perhaps even already posting, you know, describing more about him or anything like that?
Well, clearly this name has been circulating in the close circle of the Santa Fe community because there have been posts from others who ostensibly knew Dimitrios Pagorchas saying, how can you do this? You should be ashamed of yourself. Those types of posts. I haven't gathered any intel per se in terms of were there any warning signs, was there any obvious red flags in this 17-year-old's past, but that's obviously something we'll be looking at. The Facebook post, as you mentioned, Mia, has been pulled down. The Instagram post, as of about 3 minutes ago, is still alive. In terms of other information, we can confirm that he has a driver's license listed to the address where our reporter Melissa Correa is, and obviously there's a lot of police activity there and potential explosive devices, at least checking that scene. The other two people who have driver's licenses to that address are who appears to be his mother and father. We don't know any siblings. Of course, there could be older siblings who have moved out of the house. We don't know that yet. But again, 17-year-old Dimitrios Pagorchas, the suspected shooter, according to our federal law enforcement sources.
And do we know what grade he was in, if he was a senior, junior? Have you been able to gather any of that yet?
He was born in October of the year 2000, which would make him 17, going to be 18 in October. So that's
Maybe
hard to tell. Junior or senior,
or...
we don't know.
And we have been talking about a second individual that was detained. Any information on that person?
As you can imagine, my source was in the thick of it.
Sure.
I talked literally for about 20 seconds with that person. I did ask that person about that, and the reply was, I just don't know yet. And so still a question mark in terms of that second person in custody. Was it an accomplice? It doesn't appear to be another shooter, but we don't want to put any carts before any horses here, so we just don't know there. So obviously, as the hours and days really, as things progress, we're going to learn more about this gentleman. But as we've seen in other shootings, there is a social media footprint. There's an apparent affinity for guns. If you follow, what did I just read off, 8 to 10 Instagram pages talking about
Guns Picks was just one of them.
Yeah, gun fanatics, gun lovers, Guns Glory, Daily Guns, etc. That starts to paint a picture. Perhaps incidentally, he also was a member of a local Greek church. That he was part of a Greek dancing group. We found a photo of him there, so that offers at least another side. The last name appears to be of Greek origin, obviously. But other than that, we are still trying to learn more about this suspect, and a lot of questions still to be answered.
Jeremy, I know you mentioned, and we showed the picture of that long, dark coat. There was also another article of clothing that stands out when you're looking at all of this. That was a T-shirt that reads "Born to Kill."
Yeah, and just a T-shirt, and there was, and the only caption on that Facebook post was, it said "custom T-shirt," and it was just an overhead shot of a T-shirt and that white lettering "Born to Kill." That was posted on April 30th, so that's about 2.5 weeks ago.
Very recent.
As well as that long army green duster, as it's called, coat. And again, some of the descriptions there were talking about kamikaze tactics, talking about rebellion, and then of course you had the imagery, the Nazi imagery of that, I believe it's called an Iron Cross, from the World War II era there. So, this is very fluid. We're continuing to try to piece this together, but we thought it was important to release that. We're comfortable from our sources that this, in fact, is the shooting suspect, And again, his name, 17-year-old Demetrius Pagorchis.
You know, just as a note to our viewers as well, Jeremy, you would have had this name actually a few hours earlier, but in caution, in fairness and all, you have held on to this till you've been able to confirm it with multiple sources and feel comfortable in releasing that. And that is often true as you've been working it this morning. You've known a lot before we've been ready to release.
Yeah, the key here is responsible reporting, and we don't want to let any cat out of the bag that may not be true. But clearly everybody's wanting to know who is behind, or suspected at least to be behind, this mass shooting, this awful tragedy down in Galveston County. And yes, we indeed have been researching this name now for the past at least 2 hours, perhaps more. And now we are comfortable to go with that.
All right. 17-year-old Demetrius Pagorchis.
Goes by Dimitri on his Facebook account, and we'll continue to dig into his past and see if we can find any more clues as to what was going through this young man's mind.
All right. Great work, Jeremy Rogalski. Thank you so much with our investigative unit.
Yeah. Jeremy was talking about Alvin, of course, the one house where much of the investigation is focused right now. But we're also aware that there in the area, also in Alvin, there is an investigation going on perhaps at another home. Our David Gonzalez is live on the ground there with an update. David.
Yeah, that investigation underway right now here in the Hillcrest, Alvin area. We are located just off of County Road 136A. And I'm going to step aside and just show you that the road is completely filled with cars right now and is being blocked off by the Brazoria County Sheriff's Office. All the cars that you see on your screen right now are connected to some form of authority source. In the last few minutes, they all arrived and all put on tactical gear, and we're talking about helmets, bulletproof vests, and they armed themselves with long guns and also battering rams. What we understand right now is that at the end of the street right here, the suspect, Demetrius, as we've been reporting, allegedly lives, or his family lives, in a home on this street right now. Talking to neighbors, they have not seen him in a while, they say, but they do say that a Greek family lives at the end of the street and that they recognize his name and have seen him around in the past. But in the last few moments, like I said, a lot of state troopers, FBI as well, arrived here on the scene and are making their way toward a home at the end of the street. From what we understand is they are trying to be as precautious as possible to any sort of situation that may be inside that home. As Melissa and others have been reporting, the fear is that there may be explosives in and around the Alvin area, and of course if he has connections to this home, they are being extra precautious. Talking to neighbors here, they say that Santa Fe High School is actually about 3 miles away, just a little over 3 miles away, and students who live in this neighborhood would actually go to Alvin ISD or Alvin High School, but they say that the suspect, Demetrius, does have connections to a home here on a street on 136A. We have been here probably about 30 minutes, and it has picked up a lot in the last, I want to say, 10 minutes, and that's when we saw a rush of state troopers and FBI agents arrive here on the scene and kind of just take over this neighborhood as they are trying to see if they're going to make entry into that home at the end of the street. But like I said, they did arm themselves with tactical gear, and we're talking about long rifles and also a battering ram out here at the scene. But right now, neighbors that we talked to, they say that this just hits too close to home. They do not know what to believe. Of course, as soon as the news of the shooting at Santa Fe High School started coming out, their prayers and their thoughts went out to those affected. But once authorities started arriving here at this neighborhood, they said that it hit too close to home because there are a lot of families that live here in this area, and of course the concern is for the safety of those who live around here, especially with the threat of possible explosives in and around the Alvin area, guys.
Been curious to know, as you've been watching the flurry of activity there and you've been speaking with people, what have neighbors been able to tell you about the people who reside at that house where we're seeing all of the activity?
Talking to one neighbor here, she says she lives about 7 houses down or away from the house in question right now. She says that that family that lives in that home is a Greek family. She describes them as a family that keeps to themselves, but in the past has thrown big Greek festivities in this area. One thing that stuck out from the conversation that I had with a neighbor, she said that most of the neighbors here in this area hang out. They all have family gatherings together. It is a close-knit family neighborhood, but when it comes to that specific home, that Greek family tends to keep to themselves, but in the past they have seen them throw festivities, Greek festivities, in their home, and a lot of people have arrived. But as far as Demetrius, they said they've seen him in the past, they've seen him walk the neighborhood and even go trick-or-treating, but as far as seeing him recently, they have not seen him recently.
All right. All right, thank you so much, David. We have to quickly go now to Clear Lake Regional Hospital for the latest from there now.
Santa Fe High School, and we did receive approximately 8 patients through our emergency department. I can say that out of those 8 patients, 6 of those patients have been discharged with non-life-threatening injuries, but 2 of the patients did go to the operating room.
The condition of those 2 patients?
Right now I could say that one of the patients is in critical condition. I would say the patient is in fair condition.
Are you able to specify on their injuries at all?
I cannot do that right now.
And those that were already discharged, what were the extent of their injuries?
I can't comment on that either.
Can you comment on, from the injuries you saw, any indication of what type of gun was used?
No, ma'am.
Ages of the patients?
All I can say is they were high school students, right? So high school ages 14 to 18, but I cannot tell you exactly what the ages of these students were.
Have all of their families been notified?
Yes, ma'am, they have been.
Can you give any information about the expected length that the 2 other patients will remain in surgery?
I cannot comment on that either. I'm not sure.
Were the majority of people here for gunshot wounds or other sources?
They were here for gunshot wounds.
All of them?
I believe so.
This is a level 2 trauma center. How often do you guys prepare for moments like this, and when was the last time you had a dress rehearsal for something that we saw this morning?
So we prepare for moments like this on a regular basis, and the last time we were prepared for mass casualty was last week. And yes, we are a level 2 trauma center.
What does that mean, to prepare for a mass casualty? Walk me through the process.
So we do essentially a mock mass casualty, to where we get all the services prepared, we get all the staff prepared, lab, doctors, nurses, techs, to prepare for situations like this. And we will actually call patients overhead as if though they were real patients, and we go into the room and act as though there's a real patient in there, and, like we're treating, real live patients.
Do you feel that played a role in this morning?
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about how you think the morning went.
The morning went really well. So when essentially it's practice makes perfect with these types of mock trials, right? So we're preparing for the real thing, And so during practice we make sure that everybody is there, right? And we run through the motions essentially, just like we would, like this morning.
The patients that have been here and have been discharged, can you describe how they're doing emotionally, kind of their state of life?
Specifically, I can't tell. I'm pretty sure they're all pretty rattled, though, right, going through something like this.
And you said all are students?
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
I know you trained for this, you had just trained for this, but what was it like actually having to go through the real thing here today?
You can never really emotionally prepare for the real thing, right, until it happens. I got to say, as emergency physicians, gunshot wound victims are not foreign to us, right? So, we see this throughout all of our training, and so we're in there. We know what to do. We've done it before.
How emotionally rewarding was it to see parents connect with children for the first time, not knowing exactly what the status of their child was?
Well, as a parent myself, I think it's always, how emotionally rewarding. It's always great to see parents come in and connect with their children. But I think right now it's just a really emotional time, right? It's not a happy moment for anybody because everybody's grieving at the same time. So.
Seeing the 6 patients be able to go home, I mean, it's nice. It's a nice.
Of course, yes, absolutely, right? We always wish the best for our patients, right? And so seeing them go home alive and well with their parents is very rewarding to see that, regardless of the situation.
The patient you said is fair, sorry. When will he or she be
I don't know.
Is he or she expected to stay days or?
I would assume several days, but I don't know exactly.
How did it go today? I know you had just went through this.
Sure.
Was there anything that you guys learned? I know you're still going through it, but moving
Sure.
forward, did it go as...
I'll tell you that we haven't had a moment yet to actually sit down and debrief and talk over it. Right? It's all still pretty fresh, and but that is definitely the plan. Anytime something like this happens, we always sit down afterwards with ER staff, hospital leaders, and go over it to definitely do process improvement.
What time did patients start arriving here?
I believe roughly around 8:30.
Sir, can you say and spell your last name?
Sure, it's Madain, M-A-D-A-I-N.
Would you say you guys got maybe the less critical patients from the shooting?
I don't believe so. I don't know exactly what kind of patients went to other hospitals, but I don't believe so.
Two more questions. On this end, is there an official title or official name for a procedure when you guys go into this active shooter scenario that you guys have here?
It's a mass casualty.
It's like no code red or anything like that?
I'd have to defer. I don't know if we've actually had it. I mean, we call it overhead. It's a mass casualty overhead, right? That's a, yeah.
What you go through to ensure that the 6 people could be discharged? What are the things that you check, and when were those folks discharged? What time roughly did they begin bleeding?
So, well, every trauma patient gets a head-to-toe exam, and depending on what their injuries are, then we try to focus in on that with X-rays, CAT scans, and so forth. I can't exactly tell you what time they began being discharged, though. So.
You've had a lot of students and parents and everyone from all over the school have been
Yeah.
here, right? Talk a little bit about, I mean, it's been also like a little bit of a reunification point for a bunch of these people.
Sure, and so we did provide them an area for all these students and parents to come together. We provide counselors, and we do have clergy here to help with the grieving process. And so we definitely made space for them and tried to accommodate them as much as we could and provide them with everything that we could provide.
Okay, thank you very much.
Did anyone else address the condition of the 2 folks at the other institution owned by the same company?
You want to go ahead and comment?
So repeat that again, I'm sorry.
It was mentioned in the release that there were 2 victims at another facility owned by this company. I don't know if you have the...
Oh, correct, at Mainland, yes. So 2 patients did come to Mainland. They both arrived with non-life-threatening injuries, and both of those patients have been discharged.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. That's it. Thank you.
Awesome. I hope that went well. You did really well. Okay.
All right, the very latest now from Clear Lake Regional Hospital, where they had 8 patients come in this morning. 6 have been discharged with non-life-threatening injuries. Great news for them and their families. 2 remain there in the operating room, 1 in critical condition, 1 in fair condition, and the doctor there is saying they're all high school students with gunshot wounds.
Yeah, and we know that Clear Lake is just one of the hospitals where victims were rushed to. UTMB also taking patients there, treating at least 6. One of those we've been talking about is a man who has undergone surgery there, and we can now confirm police officer shot there at the Santa Fe High School shooting. That would be Officer John Barnes, and actually he is a retired HPD officer. This information just coming in. He is in critical condition. The Houston Police Department union officials are en route to be with him, of course, and his family at this time. Once again, we can confirm that police officer, retired HPD officer John Barnes, among one of those who were injured this morning in the school shooting at Santa Fe High School.
One of the many we are still praying for, and our thoughts and prayers go out to all the families involved here and the entire region there around Santa Fe, as the danger remains, actually, because of the explosive devices that were found in the school and nearby the school.
Yeah, 8 to 10 dead that we are hearing, and really all of this is just so much to process, especially for those involved.
He grew up with these kids, I mean, since elementary school here, so we know a lot of them, and my heart goes out to every one of their parents. I couldn't even imagine not being able to have my kid home.
It was just so chaotic. Everybody just started running wherever they could go.
As soon as we heard the sirens, we tried to follow the siren, or they tried to follow the sirens. I just ran to the forest because that's where I didn't think nobody could find me there. It's been happening everywhere. I've always kind of felt like eventually it was going to happen here too. So, I don't know. I wasn't surprised, I was just scared.
Dramatic sound there from some of the students who probably the most horrible day of their lives. Here they are looking forward to the end of the school year, finals next week. The last day of school was supposed to be May 31st. There was supposed to be a playoff high school baseball game tonight.
Yes.
They were all excited about that, and this ends up being the worst day of their lives.
My goodness, prom just this past weekend that they experienced, and now they're having to take all of this in starting very early today. We know at 7:32 a.m. Santa Fe ISD reported those first shots fired. At 7:33, another caller had called in, and then it just went on from there. 7:40, they were making entry into the school. Santa Fe ISD police. Again, us just reporting in the past few minutes that among one of those shot was a police officer, retired HPD officer John Barnes there. And speaking of police, the presence that we have seen in the past few hours since this has happened has been massive. A very intense response to this school shooting, and we have several scenes that we're following because of those explosives that Santa Fe ISD Police and the Santa Fe Police Department let us know about in a press conference there, that they were looking at explosives not just on campus but off campus as well.
To the point where the police chief is saying, everybody be on the lookout. If you see something out of the ordinary, please call police. David Gonzalez is near Alvin and one of the other areas that we're watching. David, what's the latest from the scene there?
As you said, there's a lot of areas in the Hillcrest, Alvin, Santa Fe neighborhoods and communities where people are just on high alert, and this is one of those neighborhoods. Right now, I am right off of County Road 136A, and there's a huge law enforcement presence here in this neighborhood. We're talking about ATF. In the last few moments, we saw DEA, FBI, a lot of state troopers, and of course, Brazoria County Sheriff's Office, along with other officials. They are all congregating near this home at the end of 136A, where they believe the shooter or his family lives or may have lived. We're talking about the shooter Demetrius, as we have been reporting. In the last hour that we've seen here, we've seen this road fill up. Every car you see on your screen right now is related to some kind of law enforcement official that has gathered here on the scene. Right now, we do not know exactly the connection to the shooter and this home, but talking to neighbors, they say that they have recognized the shooter Demetrius that lived or lives in this home. His family, a Greek family, allegedly lives at the end of the street, but we've seen a lot of law enforcement, heavily armed law enforcement. As I don't know if you can see one on your screen right now, this is what we're talking about. They are heavily armed with tactical gear, vests, helmets, long rifles, and we've seen battering rams as well. We have not heard or confirmed any entry into the home at the end of the streets, but as you can see, a lot of law enforcement here taking every possible precaution, as we have reported that the threat of explosives in and around the Alvin, Santa Fe area. This is County Road 136A, and according to neighbors that we spoke to, they say that a Greek family lives at the end of the street and that they have seen Demetrius, who is the shooter in this active shooting at Santa Fe High School, lived at that home. They said that he even trick-or-treated up and down these streets. They say that this is a very family-oriented home where all the neighbors get together and celebrate festivities. When it comes to these specific neighbors, they say that the neighbors usually keep to themselves, but in the past have thrown big Greek celebrations at their home, but they tend to keep to themselves. Right now, as far as we know, we do know that there are a lot of law enforcement presence, like we said here, taking every precaution as possible, but it's kind of a tale of two worlds right now, because I don't know if we could pan this way right now, but you see just at the end of the street or halfway through the street, you see neighbors just hanging out, kids on their bikes, up and down the street. It's the traffic is flowing on this road, but you look over to the road that I'm talking about, 136A, and it is filled with every law enforcement imaginable out here, taking every precaution to make sure that the residents here in this area are safe and that the home is cleared.
Let me ask you, we saw people out there looking at all the police cars and ATF, the state, federal, and local officials out there, but the homes that are the closest to the home in question, are the people in those homes, are they even allowed to leave?
From what I've seen, and this is all based off what I've seen, we did see neighbors walk up and down the area. We as media are staying behind the law enforcement vehicles, but we did see some people come and go. And I don't know if you could see, we'll have my photographer pan this way, but there's a neighbor sitting on a chair just past where the vehicle's at, sitting in their front porch, and they are probably 4 or 5 houses from the house in question. And this person has just been hanging out in their front porch. I haven't seen law enforcement ask them to leave, ask them to go inside. They're just kind of just seeing what's happening as we all are right now. So as far as neighbors, it's pretty much a regular day in the neighborhood except for the street when it comes to all the activity that you see behind me.
You're watching the spectacle on this unbelievable day. All right, thank you so much, David Gonzalez.
Yeah, things pretty difficult, of course, at the Alamo Gymnasium. That's where students were evacuated to and reunited with their parents. Our Jason Miles has been there all morning long. What's going on there now, Jason?
Well, Mia, that kind of reunification process has pretty much come to an end. The old junior high building behind me, it's next to the football stadium, an old football stadium, which is next to that Alamo gym, has now become an area where parents who have yet to hear from their students and also teachers from Santa Fe High School have arrived. The Red Cross is here providing food and drinks. Law enforcement personnel from various surrounding agencies here as well right now. It's kind of a staging area. I'm told these teachers are coming here to basically be debriefed. Law enforcement asking them questions, them providing any information that might be pertinent to the investigation. Meantime, sadly, some parents who have arrived, we've seen them leaving in tears, presumably finding out that their loved ones, their children, are victims in this shooting. I know I interviewed one mom on camera a little earlier. At the time, she had not heard from her daughter who was in the school. She was not answering texts or phone calls. Come to find out, that daughter was indeed a shooting victim. She is at the hospital. No word on her condition, but hopefully she survives her injuries. She also had a sister who was at the school at the time and evacuated. She showed me some cell phone video of students hiding in ditches, finding any safety they could find outside of the school. And she also had video of what appeared to be the suspect being taken into custody there outside the school. When we first arrived, parents were still here waiting in anticipation for their students to arrive. One mom had been texting her son since the shooting occurred in the school. She was kept abreast of his situation. She finally got to meet him. Here's a little bit of what she had to say when we first got here.
Just praying for all the kids, teachers, and everything involved. I mean, even the kids that didn't get injured there, they're injured. And, you know, like my son, he's pretty shook up. I'm sure all of them are, especially the ones that saw kids, their friends get shot. You know, it's pretty rough.
And again, that mom was able to reunite with her son, who texted her that, "Mom, there's a shooting going on in school," something the mom did not want to believe, but knew her son would not lie or joke about something like that. She immediately rushed over to this area, the school district telling parents to come here initially. And again, teachers are arriving now, being debriefed on the situation, maybe getting some lunch, getting updates on certainly students they care a lot about in most cases, and some parents indeed showing up as well and finding out bad news regarding their students. Many others have gone to the hospital to get updates in person and eventually be reunited with their loved ones there, guys.
So difficult there at Alamo Gymnasium. Jason, just curious to know, as we've learned more about the suspected shooter, Demetrius Pogorchis, if you've heard from anyone there at Alamo Gymnasium who has been talking about him or even possibly seeing him with that gun, with that weapon this morning.
I haven't been able to approach any students because most of them have actually left this area. Earlier, though, some students told me that no doubt they would know the people involved in this, not only the victims, those who were shot and killed, those who were shot and injured, and possibly the suspected shooter as well. No doubt that they would know those people given the size of Santa Fe High School. Not a tiny school, but a school that most people kind of know each other, at least their names, maybe have seen their faces. And no doubt if I come across some students and show them a photo of this suspected gunman, they will know who he is, and hopefully we can get more information about him in the coming hours.
And Jason, as teachers show up there, have you heard anything about when classes would resume? They were all looking forward to the last day of class on May 31st, finals next week, those kind of questions?
Yeah, the teachers understandably weren't able to release a lot of information. They were somewhat hesitant to even speak with me at all, but they did confirm that they were in fact teachers at Santa Fe High and were told to come here to talk to law enforcement. Probably just a protocol measure to make sure every teacher is on record with what they heard, what they saw. As far as the end of the school year, you know, today was kind of a relaxed day for a lot of kids. They told me they were watching movies and things like that. I think some classes were maybe taking some tests, but for many of them it was kind of a chill Friday. And then this erupts, of course. One parent, actually two parents, told me they hope the rest of the school year is pretty much canceled. I'm not sure if that is a possibility with graduations and everything, but certainly this is a jarring experience, and some of them want no part of that high school for the rest of this year at least.
Such a sad, unbelievably sad day there in Santa Fe. All right, thank you so much. Jason Miles live at the Alamo Gym there in Santa Fe.
Yeah, you know, Jason speaking with parents there earlier today, students as well. Something that he mentioned there in his live shot was talking about the pictures and photos that students had shared with him, you know, as things were happening. And with that said, we want to let folks know there in the community that Santa Fe ISD is asking anyone with information, including photos or video, depicting today's events to contact their command center. That number is 409-927-3310. Once again, anyone with photos or video from today's events, call 409-927-3310. And that's really the phase that they're in right now, is collecting evidence. The investigation very much active at this time as we're taking a live look at pictures here. This is in Alvin, just about 3 miles away from the school is where we're seeing much of the police activity right now. When we say police, we mean the FBI, the ATF, all at the neighborhood of the suspected shooter, Dimitris Pagorchis. They're in the neighborhood at the home that his driver's license shows, as our Jeremy Rogowski mentioned earlier, all there. So that is where the investigation is centered right now. We know there was talk about explosives both on campus and off campus. I'm sure they're approaching that home with much caution. With that being said.
Yeah, and they're not done at the school. They've just begun looking at the neighborhood and the home, and we still have that area where Jason Miles was. You have a few key areas where you have state, local, and federal officials doing their best to try to get this investigation wrapped up, but I would think that would be hours, if not days from now.
Right, yeah. We are very early on in this investigation process. As you know, there is a lot of ground to be covered here, a lot of information to gather at this time, a lot of people to talk to. You know, there are going to be so many who saw something, who witnessed something, from students to teachers to staff, even parents, you know, who rushed to the scene and were able to get there early. They're going to want to hear from all of those people. Some other information coming in this afternoon. We had told you about an officer who was injured in his upper arm, we're learning, and HPD union officials have confirmed that Officer John Barnes, who is a retired HPD officer, is in critical condition and is undergoing surgery. They let us know that he has worked for HPD the last 20 years, and they are on their way to UTMB. That's where he is, to be with him and his family. We know at least 6 people were being treated at UTMB, and then also we had Clear Lake Regional Hospital, who was treating patients as well. We've heard from so many different people today in response to the shooting at Santa Fe High School, and that includes President Donald Trump.
This has been going on too long in our country, too many years, too many decades now. We grieve for the terrible loss of life and send our support and love to everyone affected by this absolutely horrific attack. To the students, families, teachers, and personnel at Santa Fe High, we're with you in this tragic hour, and we will be with you forever. My administration is determined to do everything in our power to protect our students, secure our schools, and to keep weapons out of the hands of those who pose a threat to themselves and to others. Everyone must work together at every level of government to keep our children safe. May God heal the injured, and may God comfort the wounded, and may God be with the victims and with the victims' families. Very sad day. Very, very sad.
In fact, everybody calling for prayers today, from the president to the police chief there in Santa Fe. Far too often we've seen a president of the United States address something like this.
Yes. All right, at this time, we want to check in with our Lynn Cannon, who is live in Santa Fe near the high school. Lynn, afternoon to you.
The street from Santa Fe High School right here on Highway 6. You can see behind me, Keith, if you pan over, you can see that the police vehicles have blocked a portion of the highway on this side of the road, and of course there are several police cars on the other side of the road that have completely shut off the front of the school, but you can see it right here behind me. There is a life flight helicopter, an emergency vehicle, and there's a field house where we believe the governor may be speaking here at any moment. We have not gotten word that he's here yet, but we're told that he was on his way. I will tell you the drive here was very difficult. We've seen these stories. I've covered them from Columbine to Sandy Hook to Parkland, Florida. If you recall, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, when we covered Parkland, Florida, our Matt Musil was in training camp, spring ball with the Astros, just 45 minutes away from the shooting. So he was able to go and cover that. Very emotional for him. I find it very emotional for me to be here as a parent, to be here, and after 12 years in Houston, this is the first time to my knowledge that we've had a shooting, mass shooting at a school in the Houston area. There were many streets surrounding the school that are closed off. We had to weave and dodge and find our way. There are several different locations, obviously. You worry about the parents who are now meeting up with their children at the Alamo Gym, which is, I'm told, is also on Highway 6. But we hope to hear from the governor here shortly. We just heard from the president. We've been giving you information throughout the day, information about the shooter. I know the suspected shooter, we have his name. We are not getting more specific details based on what I've heard from investigators about who the victims are, other than mostly students. We do not have names yet. We do know that one of the survivors in critical condition is the Santa Fe police officer who was on campus, who probably confronted the gunman. The gunman, we know, 17 years old, was a student here in custody along with a person of interest. What that means, we still don't know. So there's a news conference coming, guys, and we know, and they will lay out who these young people are that are no longer with us. They will lay out who these survivors are and their names. They will get a sense eventually of the shooter, the motive, the background. I think about Parkland and the rage that the young man there exhibited, who's accused in that shooting, before the shooting, and a lot of signs that were shown. Whether that exists with this person, Demetrius Agorchis, I don't know, but that information will be coming, and that is what we are waiting for, as well as the governor, Abbott, who will be speaking here on the Santa Fe campus very, very shortly. Mia?
Just outside Santa Fe High School, obviously there is a police presence in the investigation that's going on there. As Len mentioned, we are awaiting Governor Greg Abbott to arrive there at the school. We're going to hear from him. So much going on in this area, from Santa Fe High School to a neighborhood there in Alvin. In that neighborhood, the home of the suspected shooter, 17-year-old Demetrius Agorchis. Our David Gonzalez is there live now. David?
Mia, right now it is still a very fluid scene out here on County Road 136, and this is where authorities from multiple different agencies have gathered here. And right now, the last thing that I saw, they're all toward the end of the street, and it's kind of a U-shaped street. There's two entrances to this street. They're at the end where it kind of makes the U, and they have gathered there, and we are talking about DEA, ATF, FBI, along with state troopers and local agencies as well. They were all having a sort of meeting off in the distance from what I could see, but here in the background you could see heavily armed sheriff's deputies with Brazoria County kind of guarding the street, making sure no one makes entry into the neighborhood. We also see them talking to residents who have come out of their homes just to kind of give them an update as to exactly what's taking place out here. But what we do know is that authorities believe the suspect in the shooting, Demetrius, him or his family, lives in a home here on County Road 136A. The last thing we saw was when the deputies and also law enforcement authorities arrived, they showed up and quickly put on tactical gear. We're talking about vests, helmets, also armed themselves with long guns and also battering rams, and they made their way toward the home at the end of the street. We have not heard or confirmed yet that they've made entry into that home, but they suspect that the suspect did live inside that home with his family. We talked to some neighbors here in the area, and they say that this is a very family-oriented home, that students here in this neighborhood actually go to Alvin High School or Alvin ISD, but that Santa Fe High School is about 3 miles away. And of course, when they heard news of the shooting this morning, they felt really bad, really sad, and of course that their thoughts and prayers to all those affected. But as soon as deputies and authorities started arriving here in this neighborhood, one of them put it simply, they said it hit too close to home. They said this is finally too close to home. They said that the family that lives at the end of the street is described as a Greek family, and that they had seen Demetrius up and down these streets in the past riding his bike and going trick-or-treating as well, but they had not seen him recently. They say that when it comes to that family, they keep to themselves. A lot of these neighbors do hang out with each other, but they say that that family keeps to themselves and don't really socialize as far as throwing a party every once in a while. But like right now, still very fluid out here. Authorities keeping us pretty far away, but right now they're trying to decide how to make entry into this home, and they're being very careful about it, Mia.
You would think that they'd be very careful since we talked so much about the explosives that they found in the school and around the school. All right, thank you so much, David Gonzalez, for that.
All right, right now we want to check in with Melissa Correa. She is also there in Alvin, not very far from where David is. Melissa, we understand you have some new information to share.
I do. Listen, we've been talking to the few neighbors who live out here along Highway 6, about 3 miles down the street from Santa Fe High School. Again, trying to piece together information as authorities wait for a search warrant to check a property, actually a trailer home behind me. And one of the neighbors, an elderly man, told me that just before 7 this morning, he heard an explosion. And initially he thought it was an explosion. He said it sounded smack dab exactly like a boom. He looked out of his window and he saw a school bus. And the school bus stopped in front of this house that's now being investigated by authorities, and stopped for about 10 minutes or so. And so the neighbor said, well, maybe I second-guessed myself. He thought maybe there was a car accident. And then about 10 minutes after that, the school bus took off. But we're now starting to piece together what neighbors experienced early this morning. He said this was about 20 minutes till 7. Jeremy Rogowski and the team there at KHOU, the investigative team, are piecing together a timeline. We know from Santa Fe ISD authorities that they started getting wind of something going on in the high school during the 7 a.m. hour. Again, right now, not too much activity happening, at least from our vantage point along Highway 6, because at last check from Galveston County authorities, they were waiting on a search warrant to enter the property. And we've been able to share with you some aerial images on social media that show a traditional home on the property, Mia and Ron, along with a trailer home. And it's that mobile home that authorities say they would like to access. We also know, the conversation is now, that yes, indeed, explosives have been found in and outside of Santa Fe High School. And I think between David Gonzalez and myself, we're trying to figure out which location that is, if not both of them. As far as the mood out here, we do not see hardly anyone. People are either keeping to their homes or they are taking the advice of law enforcement guys and just staying away from this area, because because again, for about the last 2.5 hours or so, authorities have been running full speed. I'm talking 50, 60, 70 miles an hour up and down Highway 6 to get from the high school over here to this property in question. At one point there were ambulances. At one point we saw vehicles with flashing lights. You can see as we move into the afternoon hours, vehicles are parked, things are getting settled. If Highway 6 is part of your drive this afternoon, let me tell you, a bulk of it is shut down. I can vouch for Highway 6 being shut down from Tower Road, which is on the other side of Santa Fe High School, all the way to the county line. David Gonzalez, my colleague who just joined us, is in Brazoria County, so we know that authorities are busy there as well. We are trying to get briefed on why exactly authorities pinpointed this house, what they're interested in seeing. We're hoping that those details come out during that 1 p.m. press conference. Again, Governor Greg Abbott is expected to join authorities here that are already on the ground, and we're talking a bevy of them from local, state, and federal agencies. We've seen dozens of officers. One deputy was telling me his shift ended at 6 a.m. but he heard the call go over the radio as he was heading home, came back into the office, and we're hearing that off-duty sergeants are running water and food and beverages to these law enforcement officers who are keeping the scene secure. So it's not only the investigators that are hard at work as far as the activity is concerned, it's the community rallying together for these officers who are enduring, I'll tell you, some pretty hot and humid weather this afternoon as these scenes continue to unfold out here in this stretch of Galveston County. But again, at last check, we're waiting on that search warrant. A neighbor telling us he heard an explosion, a solid sounding boom before 7 a.m. And now, guys, we're waiting on confirmation to see if in fact, indeed, there are explosives in this home 3 miles from Santa Fe High School. Ron and Mia.
All right, Melissa, I mean, as if what happened this morning wasn't scary enough, you have the fear now that even though one person is in custody, one is being detained, the danger is still out there.
Right, and all of these warnings.
Absolutely, and I was talking with that neighbor. Absolutely, and if you guys still have me, I was talking to that neighbor, and as Jeremy Rogowski confirmed the identity of this suspected shooter, this 17-year-old kid, this elderly man is saying, I've lived in this corner of Galveston County for decades. Never, one, would I have thought that this happened, and two, when he was talking about the property, he said, very rarely did I see any kids move in and out of this area. It's just so confusing for people out here. They don't know where their heart settles. We know that their heart is sinking, but between the death toll at the high school to the concern of more explosives in their own neighborhood, it's difficult for people to figure out where to go from here, you know?
Hearts have to go out to them, and we'll all be praying tonight. All right, thank you so much, Melissa Correa.
Yeah, you know, dealing with so much there today, the community of Santa Fe and also there in Alvin, as we're watching so much activity, police activity, as this investigation is ongoing. Right now, we understand, as Melissa described in detail for us, that there are several law enforcement officers at this one home in that Alvin neighborhood, and that home has been linked to the suspected shooter, Demetrius Pagorchis, and we have learned more about him just in the past hour. Of course, he lives in Alvin, where we're watching things happen there, and he's been very active on Facebook and on Instagram. Our Jeremy Rogowski has been digging into Pagorchis' social media activity, and it is very clear there that he had a fascination with guns and violence. One of these Facebook posts was just of a t-shirt with "Born to Kill," the caption "Born to Kill" on it. Also a long dark coat that was posted there with some paraphernalia, we believe some Nazi paraphernalia and such. Jeremy's going to join us here shortly, but you know, so many people want to know more about this suspected shooter, possible motivation, also what all weaponry was involved. You know, we had the gunfire and the shots there at the school, but we also know about these explosive devices that were both on and off campus, and quite frankly, that we just don't know how many there are right now, how many remain, and if they are active.
And that's why the law enforcement being so careful around his home this afternoon. Jeremy Rogowski is back, and he and our investigative unit have been trying to get as much information as they can about what happened this morning and the suspected gunman, the 17-year-old. Jeremy, have you been able to find out anything new?
There's some tidbits coming in, nothing necessarily on the surface of being of import. We know that Dimitris Pagorchis was on the freshman football team as well as the JV football team, the Santa Fe Indians. We don't know why he left the football team there. This is his Facebook post, and you're going to see a series of images from social media that we have shown before, but are indeed significant because some of the visuals, Mia, as you were just saying, are rather disturbing. Some are benign, like this shot of a gaming console, which you would expect for any 17-year-old. Others, however, point to a darker side of this suspected shooter. We talked about the duster jacket, the army green jacket. The imagery on there, talk about that a little bit more. The iron, Nazi iron cross on the upper left lapel, that is definitely a favorite associated with the neo-Nazi movement. Certainly the Born to Kill photo that we're seeing there of the T-shirt. Back to the long green army jacket, there was a rising sun, which is an Asian reference to kamikaze tactics, he said. There also was a hammer and sickle, which he said equaled bravery. So, you know, some disturbing imagery, and of course you have the gun and the knife right there in one of his Instagram posts. And it bears repeating, me and Ron, the pages that he was following on Instagram were very gun enthusiast, to say the least. Gun fanatic, one may argue. Very best gun pics, Daily Guns, Guns Fans Club, Sick Guns, Guns Pictures, Guns Fanatics, and Guns Lover, as well as Guns.Glory. I think I just rattled off 8 or 10. That shows you who he was following.
And did he have any kind of criminal record?
None that we know of. This gentleman was 17 years old. So, of course, if anything nothing showed up in the recent past. Right. In Texas, you are an adult at 17 in terms of the criminal justice system. That is not to say there wasn't a juvenile record, but we are not allowed access to juvenile records. So nothing on the adult side that we've been able to find.
So we've talked about his past, his most recent activity. What about his future? I mean, do we know anything about, you know, his aspirations or what he was planning on doing with his own life? You know, at this age, at 17 years old, most kids are talking about where they plan on going to college or what work they plan on doing.
His Facebook post indicated that he was going to be enlisting in the U.S. Marine Corps in 2019. Obviously, we wanted to check that out and verify it, and when we did call the U.S. Marine Corps, a spokesperson, a captain there, said we ran his name, we ran his date of birth, and there is no association, affiliation whatsoever with the U.S. Marine Corps. He was not enlisting, he was not to be enlisted, he was not active, and so that appears to be false in terms of that Facebook post. Other than that, we're still searching in terms of what else. A little bit on the social family side. He was a member of a local Greek Orthodox church. He was part of a dance club. We have one photo where he is wearing some of the traditional costume of Greek dancing. So we do know that. And at one time of his life, he played sports again. He was on the freshman and JV teams at Santa Fe, football team.
It's really interesting. David Gonzalez is there live in the neighborhood, just near the home of Dimitris Pagorchis. And he said in talking to neighbors have said that the family hosted, you know, different community events for the Greek community there, and obviously were involved in their culture. That's what we're hearing from neighbors. It seems fitting with what you're saying about him being involved in this Greek dance group.
I also talked to a local source on the prosecutorial level, and that person will go unnamed right now. They tell me that this may be a federal case. Right now, they are trying to serve a federal search warrant rather than a local search warrant at that address in Alvin, believed to be the suspected shooter's home. And there are already talks in the prosecution community of capital murder charges as well as federal explosives charges. And again, that's preliminary information, but we could be looking at a two-pronged prosecution approach to this.
And as he's being interrogated, one would assume right now, have we learned anything more about this person who they have detained, who they're also questioning?
Yeah, I wish I could give more information. The short answer is no, we don't. And so, you know, I don't want to speculate in any way. When we do get it, and we're trying to get that, we'll of course bring it to you.
Now, do you know much about what the procedural thing would be for him being questioned in Santa Fe right now? Is he then transported to Houston if it becomes a federal case?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be obviously having to be worked out. There could be county charters, but the fact that you have explosives here, and now my new information saying that the warrant that's going to be served will be a federal warrant, as well as possible federal explosive charges. At least initially, the track looks like it's going to the federal level. So obviously there are detention facilities downtown on a federal side, and so his whereabouts presently unknown. We don't know if he's still on scene. We don't know if he's in an interrogation room, if he's in a holding cell. We just don't know on that.
It sounds like those explosives have changed everything in regards to how he's handled, processed, questioned, etc.
Well, as we've been saying, it adds an entirely new dimension to this if you look at the history of mass shootings, in so much as, you know, we're not talking about firearms now, and we're not talking about just guns and bullets. We're talking about at least that we know of 2 devices inside the building that was based off of scanner traffic, that an officer on the scene saw 2 IEDs, and then said he may have seen either a pipe bomb or a pressure cooker device, coupled with the information from the news conference that then there is other explosives found adjacent to the campus and then off campus. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how many packages, how many devices we're talking about. We know of at least 3 and indications that there may be more. So that adds to a level, certainly I think it's safe to say, of planning it, you know, the planning that went involved in this, the forethought. This was, by all accounts, an organized thing. This was not just the information we have now, let's just grab a gun and go inside. This was calculated.
Yeah, and of course in the investigation, the greater investigation, the suspected shooter is really just the start. Him living there in the residence with his parents, we assume, from IDs and information that we've cross-matched. They'll now be questioned, and this really, the arms of it reach out very broad.
Yeah, we see some vehicles leaving that scene right now. We don't know what that means. And Jeremy, since we have you here, now, was there any indication that this suspected shooter was injured at all?
Don't have any information on that I can confirm. We're working on some background information, but I don't feel comfortable with that. Of course, there was information that a law enforcement officer, that Santa Fe ISD officer, was shot. We heard from that, hoping he's doing well. Nothing to indicate that those injuries are critical. But of course, there appeared to be some sort of shootout with that law enforcement officer, and of course, you had the half-dozen other folks transported from that scene, and we've been talking about the varying operations and procedures that you know, doctors are taking care of those needs.
And we did get word that Officer John Barnes, retired from HPD, is in critical condition.
Yeah. A lot to keep up with and follow here. Jeremy Rogowski with the latest information on the suspected shooter. We know you're going to keep digging, seeing what else you can work and find for us. And right now we're looking at live pictures from the neighborhood. This is the neighborhood in which that suspected shooter resides, Demetrius Pagorchis, along with his family there. Our David Gonzalez has been live at the scene in the neighborhood and has been following this all very closely. If you look there on your screen, you can see law enforcement officers off there to the right. They appear relaxed at the moment, but once again, you know, the distance that we are from the actual house is quite a ways here. But a lot going on here in Alvin, in this neighborhood. As we mentioned, we have these explosives that we're dealing with, and quite frankly, we just don't know what all is involved and what all is to be expected as they investigate.
It's a really bizarre scene in that neighborhood. You have